to your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying ran fast vertical stems of professors from Penn watching eagles eating prey like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia. Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
You know the term salt of the earth? I guess I screw up the term. I call it dirt of the earth. I said it like the most earnest way possible.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Tuesday afternoon. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn. We got a big show coming up. We're going to have the Owl You Know draft. It's the pre-draft Eggstravaganza, but we got to start how we always do. Sheil, how are you?
The dirt of the earth drop is an all-timer. It gets me every time, Zach. That was a fantastic story. I think that one needs to be in the rotation quite a bit. So I'm fine. More importantly, how are you guys, Bo and Zach? Are you, Marissa? I want to obviously ask you in a minute, but I got to start with Bo and Zach. Are you recovered? I mean, the owners' meetings, such a long day that day. Doing the poem, my gosh, you had to go to a 5-star resort, eat a nice catered breakfast, interview a head coach, interview an owner. I don't know how you're still standing at this time. It was such a long day. Are you okay? Are you ready to do a pod here a few weeks later?
Go ahead, Zach.
I'm trying to jog my memory here. I don't recall complaining about the owners.
Listeners, back me up. There was a lot of long days.
It was like when you guys did it together.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had another long day yesterday, so no, I'm not recovered. We had a whole content plan this week. We spent our entire weekend working on our stories to get things going, scheduled out for the week. It got blown up yesterday, so that meant we had to work later. So who knows? I am pretty exhausted, honestly.
Why did it get blown up?
Good question.
Well, okay.
Probably not worth answering.
That's for if you sign up for a cameo, Bo will tell you why the content plan got blown up. And
it's
you
exciting,
can
actually. I will tell you a couple things going out tomorrow. My favorite article to write every year, the name guide to the draft, goes up tomorrow. But more importantly, there's a story that Zach and I have been working on together, Sheil, and now really Zach's been doing the heavy lifting here, but without giving away exactly what the story is, I will give you a tease. Would you like to play 20 questions on guessing who it is that Zach Berman got to interview for this story?
Is it a football coach?
Yes.
Chip Kelly.
That's correct.
Marissa, that was within 20, right?
It was 2.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
Okay.
And for our audio listeners, Zach's face is just not amused.
What do you think the mutual love fest conversation was like on that phone call?
Yeah, you should just play that as a podcast. You don't need me on. That really should just be an episode. Although I don't know if Zach would want kind of the unfiltered, uncut conversation out there. That would be up to him. Now, Marissa, how did Bo get like the privileges to just be the only one looking at the chat? Zach, this is something you should have pushed back on. I feel like a while ago.
He has access now. It's back now.
Oh, wait, can I see the comments?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I can see them now. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, there was like a little glitch in StreamYard for a little bit where only if you were like an admin you could see the comments, but now anyone on the back end can see what the chat is saying. So yeah.
Gotcha. I see it. And let me give a big go to Helsinki to the Philadelphia Eagles for not signing a great, versatile interior offensive lineman. I mean, I thought that was a need. You know, you have a need at right guard. You have a need for depth. A guy who has performed in the playoffs. You expect to be in the playoffs. Great character guy.
Dominated them one-on-one last summer.
Dominated them one-on-one. You saw him up close. Great locker room guy. And here you are. You're going to be caught with your pants down in week 5 when you get one injury. And then this guy's going to be in Cleveland. So go to Helsinki, Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, I did confuse you because before the news had come out, I had texted you guys and I said, who's babysitting preseason week 2? And you forgot that they had the joint practices. So you thought
planned for me.
Yes. Yeah. So I I apologize for getting your hopes up over there, but I'm hoping Naya and Leela are available that week. No camps or anything.
It would be funny if Michael is just like he's off their board for like character reasons. It's like he doesn't do enough laundry. We've heard that. We can't sign the guy.
Or loosely connected to Bo, Zach, and Sheil. We're not bringing that guy in the building.
That's
probably why Yoshibasa is not going to be on the Eagles board.
I think that's right. Yes. All
right. Zach, we haven't spoken to you too much. I'm curious what your thoughts are on Tucker Carlson's firing.
I have no thoughts on it. Honestly,
no thoughts. Oh, okay.
I read the New York Times story this morning, but I'm knee deep right now I would say more than knee deep in draft coverage. I am thinking about these players probably too much. And like you said, we have a big story coming out tomorrow that consumed a lot of my weekend. There's a lot of other stuff going on in our coverage and in our lives that, so it's all good things, but I don't have time for many thoughts on Don Lemon or on Tucker Carlson.
You did tell me that you thought Lemon had it coming.
I haven't watched that show yet, admittedly. So I have no insight for you on that program.
All right. Well, why don't we did have a nice press conference yesterday, Zach. Why don't we send it to the Stone Cold Newsman for what he heard as the new face of the franchise. Unbelievable.
Delayed toss messing up the production truck over here.
Money is nice. Championships are better. That is what Jalen Hurts said on Monday when he put pen to paper on his $255 million contract extension with the Eagles. He is, if there was any question before, and there wasn't any question before, the face of the franchise quarterback, had a green suit on that certainly impressed Bo, a Gucci suit. So him and Bo shop at the same place.
What does that mean, impress me?
I
like the haircut. The suit was fine.
I take you as a Gucci guy. So
what does that mean? I don't know.
Probably means the same thing when you bring up Tucker Carlson. I have no idea what that means.
He has a history of wanting to carry a Louis Vuitton bag around the airport. So I would agree with you.
And the sweatshirt.
And the sweatshirt, correct.
So in any event, Jalen Hurts signs the contract yesterday. The Eagles started their offseason program. We saw Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Greg Ward keeping tabs of the Jalen Hurts press conference. You can read all about what Jalen said on The Athletic. Bo has an outstanding column about it. I have a story up there as well. Additionally, Tyree Jackson signed his exclusive free agent tender, so he is back for the Eagles, and the Eagles waived Marquise Blair. So as of now, and I should have this in front of me, their roster stands at 70. Here we go. Hold on here. This is I should have better podcasting.
We're doing a 30-person draft, right? This episode.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 71.
And you have a big story due tomorrow. Has that been filed yet or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Version, yeah.
Just making sure. Looking out.
71. So they have 29. No, I'm sorry. They have 19 roster spots entering. 19 roster spots entering the draft. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
Thanks, Zach. Great update. Sheil, did you watch the Jalen Hurts press conference?
I did not. No.
Okay.
I saw some clips here and there.
Marissa, how about you?
Same thing. I saw the Twitter clips. Read your guys' stories.
Did you really?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the suit was great. I thought he looked awesome.
Yeah.
I thought his girlfriend's outfit was fabulous. Nicole Lynn looked awesome.
I think we should actually. I think it's worth discussing the girlfriend for a second because this was sort of like the public like introduction.
All right.
Of the
Call me back when you want to get to. I'm not.
He was at the Super Bowl, right?
Go
Was
ahead.
this on the
Yeah, but
show?
it wasn't like,
He
I
was at
mean,
the
he's never
championship
like
game.
publicly on a press
Okay.
conference or anything spoken
Right.
about her.
Right.
She's at the Maxwell Awards.
She brought him up on
Just
stage.
we just literally named 5 places in the last 3 months where we've seen her.
I don't know. I thought that was
Okay.
I thought that was notable.
All right. So what's your take? You got a take there, or you said it's
He
worth
talked about her
discussing?
he talked about her in the Essence magazine story.
Okay, but not in that
You
capacity.
should read Essence. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, don't be anti-Essence here, right?
I'm not anti. No one's anti-Essence. I know you're just reading it so you can, feed Tucker some dog whistling talking points. But
All right. I thought you guys. I listened to your Hurts conversation. You're after the contract was signed. I thought you spoke with a little bit too much certainty, naivete. Is that?
we know you love
the right
Justin
word?
Herbert. Yeah.
Is that the word, naivete? Well, I feel like if you rewind to, what was it, 2019, Carson Wentz signs the big contract, right? And we probably all had a discussion at that time. I have stuff written, on the internets about, hey, that's it's a good move. It's going to be the guy for a while. I feel like I've learned from that experience. I feel like you guys just, oh yeah, this guy's going to be great for the next decade, and this is a home run, and he's a top 4 quarterback, no doubt, and they're going to win these Super Bowls with him. I mean, I thought you really spoke. I mean, too much certainty there for Jalen Hurts. I thought with your conversation, not allowing for a wider range of outcomes.
That's not how I view it. I don't view it as a certainty. I think we were going down the list of quarterbacks saying who you would take. Those are the guys who I would take, but I'm not. I still think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
who would you take over him, Sheil?
Well, we would have to go through the entire list there. I mean, if we want to do that exercise,
I just think
we can.
I think the range of outcomes is like the low range is much more injury specific to me than this guy's going to fall apart mentally.
That's correct, but he's a quarterback who has had injuries in consecutive years, and the ball's in his hands.
Agree. I'm the one who's been banging that
every
drum.
single play.
I totally agree.
Okay. Do you feel like, all right, let me ask you this question. Is it more likely the Eagles win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years with Jalen Hurts, or anytime after that with Jalen Hurts?
With Jalen Hurts.
With Jalen Hurts as the...
With Jalen Hurts, yeah. As Jalen Hurts, you look at his entire career, you have 23, 24, and 25. You can put a little lettuce on that, or you can say 26 and beyond with Jalen Hurts. What's more like, when does Jalen Hurts first win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, if those are the two options, I would say the next 3 years, because I think I don't know what their Super Bowl odds are going into next year, but I imagine they're fairly high, right? That like they have good odds, and they're set up to have a good roster during these next few years. So I think door number A there is, I know what's behind it, right? I don't know what's behind door number B. So, or door.
Those are letters, by the way.
Thanks, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more likely that Jalen Hurts doesn't win a Super Bowl than any of those things.
No, it's one or the other.
I think
I would. That's why. Yeah.
I'm finishing my sentence, but I would agree that it's more likely it happens in the next 3 years, just because he's in his athletic prime. The roster is in pretty good shape. The offense is all young and good players. But still, I mean, that's why it's structured that way, right?
I think the big question, which you guys have touched on, is how much of his running is imperative to how good of a quarterback he is, and how much better can he potentially get as a passer. Like if we just took out all the running, all the scrambling, everything, and you just looked at him as just a passer, would you expect him to be like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? I would say it's possible, but probably not. But when you look at the whole package, I do feel like there is some urgency when you look at the supporting cast with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert under contract, the offensive line, where he is in his athletic prime, where the NFC is as a conference that in like these next few years, I feel like are going to be his best chance to win a Super Bowl, which is why when you guys were scolding the listeners for even thinking about immediate need with the draft, I mean, I thought that was a little too far as well. I mean, looking 5 to 8 years down the road for a draft, like, I don't know. I understand you're looking big picture and long term, but you also, this is a team that absolutely could benefit from a rookie class coming in and playing well immediately.
So I mean, first off, I don't like this argument that I've heard going back to the previous one. I hear this on radio, so that's probably where you get it from. Sheil is
Sheil's been clip framed. He wants to be
WIP. You can listen to me Tuesday, Wednesday during the season. Thank you. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
If you take away his legs, if you take away Steph Curry's 3-pointer, what is he, right? If this is
no. That's the worst analogy I've ever heard.
Part of Jalen Hurts' game.
I mean, it would have been worse if he said, like, I don't know. Take away his butt.
Don't get fired.
Like
okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure where you were going with
Jalen.
that.
Yeah. Jalen.
No. Because Steph Curry's 3-pointer is going to age nicely as he gets older. I mean, he could have an extended career because of it. Legs are tied to athleticism, where that is going to, at some point, it might not be for a long time. The guy's a physical specimen. He might have 8 years being able to run this well, but I do think it's a fair question. So I don't agree with that analogy.
Yeah, I mean, let's apply it to baseball then. If you take away Trey Turner's legs, right? Trey Turner is he's a really good runner. That's part of his value, right?
Yeah, that's huge if you take away his legs.
Yeah,
he's not going to be nearly as good of a player.
I think Jalen Hurts. You're signing Jalen Hurts in part because he can run the ball well, right? I don't like this idea that it's. You have to view someone for who he is, not for who you want him to be or who, this theoretical thing. Jalen Hurts he's a very effective runner. That's part of the Jalen Hurts package. Until Jalen Hurts can't do that, I think it's fair to properly assess him that he can do that.
Well, Sheil famously wants, a quarterback who can stand in the pocket and, have a nice bow tie and, go to, go glad hand people and just be a nice lily white quarterback. He doesn't really care about all this other stuff.
A bow tie? I don't even know who we're talking about here. I agree. And I side with you, Zach, on the whole, like, running question. Like has to be part of the package right now, at least. Maybe 3 years from now, it'll be like, it doesn't have to be part of the package. But I think certainly right now, that's what, part of what makes him so difficult to defend. That's what allowed them to score points so easily last year. That's at like the core on a Tuesday night game. We always talk about the armpit, like a Tuesday night game plan. And what do we do about Jalen Hurts as a runner here? Like, that's part of it. Now, I think in high leverage, I do think there's kind of a middle ground there. Like, I thought there were times last year where he's running the ball in the third and fourth quarter when they're blowing teams out. And I think those are plays that, like, immediately where you need to get in his head that you need to get those out of here. But otherwise, I don't expect to see any type of a different offense where he's not running the ball. Just as a long-term, what it looks like, I think that is fair to bring up.
Okay.
All right.
What else you got?
What else do I now? You guys haven't revisited the combine pod, Marissa. Do we need to get into this or not, or was that just a one-time resolved off air? I thought this was generally a family business where all issues are resolved on air. I think the audience felt the tension, felt the argument in there. I don't know if you need.
There's been so much. I mean, you can just go back in time and bring up.
I haven't been on since then. I don't know if you need me to come in and. Someone wants some Gannon talk, which I would be happy to get into.
I actually think that we should talk about Gannon.
So I mean, listen, it's your show, so I'm not going to say, well, maybe the audience, if they want to revisit the combine talk.
Well, I think the length of the episode since have told you how that argument was resolved.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I the way that was resolved, Sheil, was just I'm just rolling with it, man. I mean, I'm trying to make it the best show I'm trying to be the best contributor to this show that I can, and so
contributor.
You're not a
That's
contributor,
underselling
you're
yourself.
a co-host.
See, that's telling,
Yeah.
right? Very telling, right there.
No,
Word usage. How
or-
he feels.
No, I'm going along with the only thing I will say this, I don't understand some of the jokes, right? And so I never know if I'm supposed to acknowledge
I haven't
them.
understood a joke from Bo in at least 7
So that's
years.
why I really
Twitter,
admired,
audio, writing, anything, any medium.
I really admired the Fran pod because Fran just rolls with it. But I will say, without getting into any specifics, I've had like friends and family members reach out to me with like questions about me that they and I was like, I don't know what he means by this. He's just saying it, right? You know, I'm like,
Dr. Carlson, case in point. After
Yeah.
this one.
I'm like, I'm just rolling. I don't want to push back. I just want to roll with it. So I will say some of the jokes I don't understand. We didn't say this on air, or I'll be careful how I say this because I told Poe off air, and Marissa knows here. The notes that I said in that meeting, where like they kind of came from somebody, and I was relaying them in that meeting. I wasn't necessarily.
You keep calling it a meeting, like
okay,
we're just getting breakfast.
So and look, I'm guilty of that. I am very guilty of that. I view, like, when I'm on a business trip, like, everything is a business encounter. So I
don't think you need to apologize that. So my quick take on this is, Zach, I feel like you need to consider the source of where advice is coming from. And I don't know the specifics of who it was, but are these people who have listened to hours and hours and hours of the show and have demonstrated the ability to give you useful advice and feedback in the past that has made you better at your job? Or is this kind of a small talk, sort of take it with a grain of salt, you guys do 3-hour episodes type conversation? So I would say that. Bo, I thought it was, your argument was pretty disingenuous about, like, I just want to have lunch with my friends. Like, anytime we have a meal, you talk about work all the time. Anytime I've had a meal with any of you, of course work comes up.
We're mostly just complaining about people.
I'm ripping people left and right. There's no doubt about it. That's part of talking about work. But I mean, anytime you are having like a meal with coworkers, it's not, I don't know Zach to be somebody who just comes in and is like, stop talking about your children. I want to get back to what our content plan is. Like, Zach has
he literally sat down, and like the first thing he said was, all right, I think we should get the show shorter. But
he explained that he was trying to get that in before Michael arrived at lunch, right?
Exactly, correct.
Yeah, so you talk about work all the time with coworkers, other people in your industry, colleagues, anybody. Like, it's a topic that naturally comes up every time. So that wasn't why you were upset, Bo. If Zach sat down and said, all right, I want to get to this real quick. Our shows need to be longer. Bo, we need more puns. I want more games. We're not getting there. Then you wouldn't have come in afterwards and been like, why are you talking about work right away?
It was a terrible take.
Yeah. So that's all.
Just like all the people if the show doesn't get to the point in the first 90 seconds, I'm out. Okay, leave. You have bad sensibility. That's not what we're here for.
All right. Well, Marissa. Now, I felt for Marissa there. Marissa was a pregnant woman trying to get some nice brunch at Cafe Patachu.
Exactly.
Nice big portions there. You know, you order something and then other things show up on the plate where you're like, I didn't even know this came with what I ordered. This is fantastic. So, Marissa, how are you? I know you've probably had to do some mediation behind the scenes since that episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you don't like when your parents fight, like, like, I don't want these two fighting, but I mean, I don't want to open old wounds. Like, I feel like we've, like, reconciled the situation.
Sheila came here with an agenda today.
I haven't been on since then.
So
I will say, when we went to Zach's surprise party, Jessica said to me, I am so sorry. That episode I was really feeling for you.
I was feeling for you too. I wasn't trying
Well,
to.
at some point you gotta play into it. I mean, that became the episode. You gotta keep it going.
I definitely think it, it's all love, and it all comes from, there's no ill will between them. And, I hope we can come up with a happy medium, and I think we have, and yeah, we can move forward in a positive way.
Speaking of positive, I thought Zach's show notes were outstanding. I mean, Zach, I would suggest that you sit out an episode like once a month just so we can get the show notes segment. I mean, that was.
Bo would like that.
I was just going to say, Zach's going to say Bo would like that. I knew exactly what he was going to do.
I thought that was fantastic. What else did I have here? Zach, do you wear a seatbelt every time you're in the car? This is something I've been hanging on to.
Oh, yeah. Sheil's mentioned this to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay. Because
not 100%.
We were in you did eventually, but we were in an Uber a couple times and the seatbelt thing beeped and then you put it on.
When I'm in an Uber, I don't wear it. No,
why not? You got to wear a seatbelt in an Uber. What's wrong with you?
Well, typically when I'm in an Uber, I sit in the back seat.
Still, that's a 1980s way of thinking. You wear seatbelts in the back seat.
Oh yeah, no, I guess I always wear a seatbelt when I'm driving. Always.
Okay.
I never and I'll say this, when I'm if I'm a passenger in the front seat, I instinctively put it on. I don't know. I never
not the case that one time.
I never put a seatbelt. Yeah, I never put a seatbelt on in an Uber or a Lyft. That's
okay. I need you to start doing that regardless of where you're seated.
We're worried about you.
You want to live, don't you? I mean, I think we all want you to live.
Yeah.
You want to live.
Is this okay?
Oh yeah, no. This is I don't know anybody else who would not wear.
In the comment section, when you get into the back seat of a ride share, do you put on a seatbelt?
100%.
I think I do, definitely in an Uber, but like I will say, like if I was in New York and I got in the back of a taxi, I probably wouldn't.
That's probably where it comes
from. And that's probably where you really should.
That might be true. Yeah.
New York City taxi. But
interesting. Okay, I'm wrong here.
The comments are rolling in. Yes.
Well, I mean, I tried to get you. How are your guys' texting habits now while driving? Hopefully that has come to a stop.
Don't do it anymore.
Thank you, Bo.
Thanks you.
I don't text, but I do sometimes use the Google Maps. I mean, that's.
Oh, you got a little Apple CarPlay?
The CarPlay doesn't sync up for me. So.
CarPlay's great.
I'm not happy about that. But I'm being honest for the people.
So you got to get that fixed. That should be on your priorities. You could be looking down at your phone on the map there.
I can't. Where am I supposed to put that on my priorities when I got to do the name draft for tomorrow?
You got a nice car. I've seen your car.
I got this NFC.
You got upgrade model of the Kapadia's RAV4.
We got a beat writer mock draft. I mean, come on.
All right. Okay. So I had that. I think those were most of my. Now, Bo, you said it felt good to get dusted, which is just like an annoying thing for somebody to say one. But more importantly, why are you having so much trouble finding the right competition? I don't understand.
No.
It has
been the right competition. The guy I played is very too good for the. Yeah, he's new, and so they have to put him through. He's going to have to go beat a bunch of us, and then he's going to get promoted.
Gotcha.
It was nice to play a guy of that level just to see it.
Measuring stick game for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my body is not in good shape with these games. I like the knees.
You need to stretch. I mean, how do you not stretch every day? You got to
try to stretch. I don't stretch every day. Yeah. I mean, this is my
grab
a
little foam roller or something. Yeah.
I think I'm going to start doing an ice bath.
Yeah, the ice bath sounds nice. I would like to do an ice bath. Last thing I had here, Zach, you said you were not surprised by the no trade clause, and you were poo-pooing anybody who discussed the no trade clause for Jalen Hurts.
I wasn't poo-pooing it.
Oh, was it Bo?
I was not. I was
not surprised. Like,
Zach has never been so offended. This is
no. So I was not surprised by it. I understand why it's a story. My contention, and I stand by this, is that if it ever came to a point where you're motivated to trade the quarterback, my guess is he probably wants to be elsewhere anyways. That the purpose of the no trade clause in that situation essentially allows the quarterback to dictate where he goes. So in the Russell Wilson situation, for instance, he didn't want to go to Washington or Philadelphia. He wanted to go to Denver. That's the benefit of the no trade clause. I don't think the no trade clause, the way it's often interpreted is it means that the player doesn't want to go anywhere. Essentially just gives the player leverage in a situation where if he's going to be traded, he can dictate where he goes. But I stand by what I said, that if you ever get to the point where you're going to trade him, he's going to want to be traded.
I agree with that.
Yes, but it was also the first time in franchise history, correct, that they included a no trade clause in a contract?
Yeah, but how many times in franchise history was that even on the table?
Yeah, like Nate Herbig's not asking for a no trade clause.
All right, well, it's on the table now. This was something that he wanted in there. If he didn't care at all about it, he wouldn't throw it in there at all. So I think it's a good way, actually, for a player of his ilk to exercise some leverage in a sport where the players often get screwed. Like you said, I mean, if it comes to the point where they want to trade him, I mean, he's a young guy. He's 24. Let's say something happens. I don't know. They draft whatever would happen where it would come to that point that it's hard to envision now. He has some leverage where he can say, no, this is where I want to go. I'm not going there. And he can exercise some leverage. So I actually thought that was an interesting part of the contract. And yeah, it did surprise me a little bit. I guess more quarterbacks are asking for those now, I think.
And so, for example, you see this in baseball a lot, and they're sometimes limited no trade clauses. And what players do is they actually put on their no trade clause teams that would essentially trade for them, right? The big market teams that would pay for them, because then it gives the player leverage to get more out of that deal. Like they won't have the Pittsburgh Pirates on their no trade clause because the Pirates wouldn't trade for them. They'll have the Yankees because if they get traded to the Yankees, they can exercise their leverage and turn it into something more.
They better like really double check the the writing on that contract to make sure it's not like a Simpson situation. And it's not a no trade clause. It's a no trades clause. And all of a sudden Howie can't make any trades.
I thought you were going to say, actually, I won't spoil it because I know Zach is not caught up on Succession. That was the reference I was about to make, but I caught myself.
I'm one episode behind now.
Okay. Have you sat back and thought about like Jalen Hurts is set up to be like the hierarchy of all time Philadelphia athletes? Like
yes.
If things go well on this contract, like the ceiling of where he will be. I mean, you look at it, they won one Super Bowl. Obviously, Carson Wentz was the quarterback. Then Nick Foles was the quarterback. If he is able to get them to like another Super Bowl and win it, he automatically becomes like the greatest quarterback in franchise history. And we just said the next 3 years, like they're going to be probably among the 3 favorites in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl at 24 years old. I mean, it's interesting when you look at that contract and when it ends, where he could be by the end of that contract.
Go ahead, Zach.
You are absolutely correct. It's the flip side.
For you, it'll always be Kurt Schilling at the top.
Again,
I did listen when I was 10. I did love Kurt Schilling in that '93 team.
No,
it's
that.
I think that
team, Kruk. I tell you what, Kruk is. I enjoy a Kruk on these Phillies broadcasts. I don't know about you guys.
So the reason I hesitate when you're talking there is because, like Aaron Rodgers, he just got traded, right? And one of the great players of the last 20 years, 4-time MVP, right? He won 1 Super Bowl in Green Bay. There are, Andrew Luck at one point, Zach Kiefer's Luck podcast was incredible. And as I often say on this podcast, there was a point in time where it looked like the Colts were set up for the next 10, 15 years, right? And then so it's hard to say, like, it's hard to think 10, 15 years down the line. So, but certainly Jalen Hurts, the world is his oyster right now, right? And he has earned it. He has earned this spot, and he'll keep getting better. And I think organizationally, like if you just look at their last 25 years, right, from Andy Reid being hired on, they've been one of the more the stable, best organizations, right? And so, I think there's going to be organizational support. There was a little line in his thank yous yesterday that shouldn't necessarily be dismissed. And when he said, thank you, Mr. Lurie, I'm quoting him here. And he said, thank you, Howie. He said, thank you, Julian.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's
going to be fair, he was there. Those were the guys who were sitting there. It was Julian,
sure.
Nick, and Howie. But
correct. But like it's reasonable to think that in this era where Julian's going to take over, Jalen is the face of the franchise during that period. So that's certainly not out of the question here.
I mean, it's the life cycle in football is just so quick. I mean,
exactly.
Like you can't count on anything. I mean, look like Josh Allen, like the Bills 2 years ago looked like they were set up, and all of a sudden it's a year and a half later, and it's like, oh, this might be their last shot. Like their roster is on its last legs. I just. It's to your point of what's more likely over the next 3 years or after that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Now you guys are you are articulating better what I was trying to say earlier now in this discussion.
Right. And so, I mean, we can't be saying like he's necessarily going to be the best athlete in Eagles history, but I do think that right now, I mean, you've got Bryce Harper and you've got Joel Embiid, but I mean, I do think that he's sort of the king of the city.
Yeah. You think so? You think Hurts over Embiid right now?
Well, I mean, the Sixers are going to lose in the second round again for like the 40th straight year. I mean, everybody.
Come on.
You don't think they're going? You're going to think they're going to get out of the second round this year?
Yeah, I think they have a legit shot. I wouldn't say
close to. I think this is like as low of a shot as they've had. The guy, your Embiid is injured, and their Celtics have owned them. I don't know if they do.
They got a week here.
All right, fine. But at some point, you got to get out of the second round. But yes,
sure.
Embiid is loved. But I don't know. When I'm looking sort of long term, I mean, Embiid's stretch here has been ridiculous just as an individual player. But I think the way Bo termed it in terms of king of the city, when I look at what the Eagles team has the ability to accomplish over the stretch, and given that Eagles are the kings over the other teams, I think he's got that probably higher.
You do have to say that
in terms of legacy,
all three of them are very good at pandering, like to the city. You got to give them that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
As they should be. Why would you?
Sure.
Be in that spot and
yeah,
reviled you. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
it's part of.
Carson Wentz wasn't exactly like wrapping his arms around the city.
Well, there's some revisionist. I mean, like the fan base loved Carson Wentz at one point in time. Yeah. I was earlier out on him than any of you guys, any of the audience. We don't need to revisit that. I saw it coming from a mile away, where some of you, the minions, might not have. But yes, there was a point in time where we could have had a very similar conversation about Carson Wentz for sure. So you're right. Your point is a good one. Okay. All right.
Do you want to? Speaking of Carson Wentz, you were talking on your pod about how disastrous that contract was.
Yeah, I disagreed with your take here.
You disagree with that
quite a bit. Yeah,
sell me.
I mean, they lucked into a second round quarterback who they thought was going to be a backup, and he turned out to be awesome, and that's why it didn't end up to be. And I mean.
I think it's not the Hurts part of it. It's not the Hurts aspect. It's the getting out of it that was easy, and they still got compensation, like real good compensation.
It was easy. I think Howie Roseman, as we've talked about, thrives in those situations and did a great job to kind of get Wentz out of there for good compensation. Like, I don't know, like if that happened, I think the league has changed a little bit. Like if that happened this offseason, do you think the Eagles would have got the same compensation for Carson Wentz? If 2022 was 2020, you know what I'm asking here or not?
Yes, I do.
It feels like teams are less willing to kind of do that now, but that could be wrong. Wentz just got traded last offseason. To your point, big white guys with strong arms, they get the benefit of the doubt more often than not.
Look, Aaron Rodgers is his career
white guys
significantly better, right? But Aaron Rodgers did not have a great year last year, right? And he just got traded for what I thought was a really good package for the Packers. And he's later on in his career, and he's expensive. So if you have belief in a quarterback, it's shown you're going to pay for that quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're right that they got out of it, but I don't know. When you take the largest dead cap hit in NFL history up to that point to move on from a guy who 2 years earlier you thought was the franchise quarterback and paid him a big deal, I do think that is still a disaster, even if you're able to get out of it.
Well, I also think it probably speaks to if we can gas up the owner a little bit, like his willingness to sort of eat that on the chin, as opposed to half of the other owners in the league who would really they would have kept him around. It would have been a bad situation. They wouldn't have spent elsewhere. I think that's to the Eagles' credit.
Yeah, this goes to your guys' Josh Harris conversation, where part of it is like, it is as a fan, it is great to be able to just yell at part of it is you just want to hate the owner. You don't want to like the owner at all times. So I think with Josh Harris, it will be very easy to be like, why is this guy own the Commanders? We don't like him anyway. Now he owns the Commanders. My theory with Jeffrey Lurie is that like over 50% of the credit that Howie Roseman gets, maybe more, probably should go to Jeffrey Lurie, because he's the gap between him and the bad owners is probably bigger than the gap between Howie Roseman and the bad GMs, in my opinion. But yeah, it's
a lot of the things that make Howie good are emboldened by what Jeffrey wants him to do. Yeah, correct. That's fair. All right. Should we pivot to the draft? There are no breaks on this episode. This is a marathon right through.
Well, good thing I'm using a standing desk, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean. You just pee on the floor? Is that the?
Yeah. If I'm like Zach and I don't want to sit down, then I can just do what I need to do.
I meant to circle back on that, Zach. After we had that discussion, was there a part of you that was curious to just see how the process went? Have you sat to pee since then?
No, I have not. I have no interest in doing that.
You didn't
crazy.
No middle of the night.
My cousin. My cousin sent. I hope I said this on the pod. I know I said this off air. My cousin sent the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry did discuss that, and a listener sent me that as well. So I should have remembered it from that. But no, I'm a stand. I stand to pee.
No way to live. Why do that to
Give
yourself?
A little mini vacation.
You're working from home. Yeah, take a seat. I don't want to go too far and ask about the fiber and magnesium in your diet. And, sometimes you might get a little surprised.
I stand to pee. So.
All right. Well, speaking of that, actually, we do have, before we get to the draft, the commenters are.
I was just going to say, they're dying to talk about Gannon.
Insistent that we get Zach's take on Mr. Pew Pew Pew. Throwing the Eagles media under the bus with the Cardinals fans.
Okay, so clearly this was not asked in a press conference, and Jonathan knows.
Give us the full lay of the land.
Oh, okay.
Just in case
so
anybody.
And I actually don't think that everyone kind of understood the context with which this was said, and so the Cardinals had their jersey unveiling last week, and at the jersey unveil, they had town hall type thing for invited fans or whomever it may be, and they broadcasted this online, right? So this was not like a press conference or anything like that.
But that means that he knew that it was being recorded.
I actually don't. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, but you're always recorded if you're exactly
on an NFL team. You should know that.
100%, right? Greg Burkhalter's comments were supposed to be off the record. They got out if you're speaking to a large group now, very seldom is it ever, it's you have.
And that's the problem with cancel culture these days, don't you know?
I'm just going to proceed here. Okay, so Jonathan Gannon, he was asked about his interactions with the media. And it was presented to him that he's like so comfortable with the media or something of that nature. And he said he was talking about how in Philadelphia, how it's a tough media market. And he said they were 9-0 and the media said they want to fire him because he doesn't blitz, and they were first in sacks and first in every defensive category.
They were up by 30 sacks. He said, why and then he said, why don't you call the defense?
Yeah. So look, this did not happen. Okay, number one. And I think Jonathan knows this did not happen. It was a foolish thing to say. He was pandering to his audience. He was trying to prop himself up, but he was also trying to get some chuckles out of his audience. It's an easy every time, and this is probably kind of embarrassing to say. I go to if Howie Roseman's ever speaking somewhere, I'll try to go and listen to Howie, and he'll always make comments about the Philly media, right? it's
Wait, what's embarrassing to say? That you go?
Yeah,
It's not embarrassing.
So Howie was at Villanova Law School a few weeks ago. I actually couldn't go to that, but I listened to it on Andrew Brandt's podcast. And yeah, he did the same type of thing, right? Where he brought up a press situation at the owners' meetings, and you're saying it for effect, right? So I'm not defending Gannon, but what I will defend, or what I will say is, I think sometimes, like, we in the media, and I don't want to say the fan. I would never rip on the fans, but like I'll say we in the media can be a little oversensitive about things. We make caricatures of coaches and players sometimes, and they make caricatures of us. And like if we do that to them, we can't be sensitive when they do it to us. Jonathan Gannon probably felt that there was, that he was made into a caricature essentially, right? And that he became a punching bag. And so if we in the media are like, we just have to roll with it. Whenever Howie does that, just kind of roll with it, right? It's like a bit, and I'm fine. So I wasn't offended by it. I think, yeah, it was ridiculous. That question was not framed that way. It was not framed that way. But Jonathan was feeling he actually had something that didn't get much attention earlier in that unveiling when he was talking in the jersey unveiling, when he was talking about walking around Scottsdale or Phoenix or wherever it may be. And he says, yeah, he can go to the mall and he's not booed. Right. I mean, that was a reference. That was a veiled reference to Philadelphia. But my point is, when it comes to the media, I'm not offended by that. Like, it's ridiculous, but we make caricatures sometimes of coaches and players. That's why I always try to talk about nuance, but the way Jonathan Gannon was talking about on radio was not very nuanced, right? It was very, and so I on principle, I wasn't offended based on that, but I thought it was a ridiculous comment, right? He knows that did not happen.
I would say, like, I am also unmoved by, like, he said this and it didn't happen, like fact checking it. Like, obviously he was saying it for effect. I do think it, like, elucidates a rabbit-earedness that is probably concerning for the head coach of a team. Like, if he was, to some degree, he is saying what he believed to be a general truth, that he was unfairly criticized, even though the defense was very good. And I think there were a lot of very fair criticisms, and I would think that the leader, you would want to be a little bit more introspective and not so defensive.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that after their first loss of the season, the poll question on the morning show was, should they fire Jonathan Gannon? So this is where he gets that idea. And
I mean, in fairness, he was coming off a terrible season, and they gave up 35 points to a Lions team that ended up to be good, but no one at the time thought was going to be good. I mean, the guy got gifted one of the most healthiest defenses in the NFL, one of the most loaded and deepest defensive rosters in the last 20 years for the Eagles. He beat up on the easiest opposing offense schedule in the NFL, and anytime they went up against a good quarterback, they got cooked. And if he could have got one stop in the second half on 4 possessions of the Super Bowl, the Eagles would be hoisting the Lombardi trophy. So all that is fine, and we can argue about it. It's just, listen, his vibe has been off the whole time. I have never been a fan. I'm glad I do not have to watch Jonathan Gannon's defenses on film next year. We get to watch a new coordinator there. The numbers will probably not be as good, so don't come crawling to me in week 6 and showing me the stats of 2022 versus 2023, because it's going to be a roster that's not nearly as good, and it's going to be a much tougher opposing schedule, as I said, and they're probably going to be more injured. But I mean, give me a break. Like, talk about NFL head coach. Like, he should just be sitting there saying, thank you. I can't believe that I got offered a head coaching job here. I'll take it. Everyone's great. Philadelphia. Like, why you could just Philadelphia was a great experience.
Exactly.
Yes. It's the cliche thing that PR has taught every single person in that building for 30 years. The fans are passionate. It can be tough, but man, when you win, it's awesome. You don't need to go into any of that other stuff. And I don't know, the fact checking part. I love Jimmy Kempski's piece. Yeah, if you're gonna lie, at least get the freaking things right. Yeah. You could have said 8-1. You could have got the numbers right. You got everything wrong. You lied about everything you had. They're going to be the worst team possibly in the NFL next year, which could work in their favor, by the way, because they'll probably get Caleb Williams the year after that. But they're going to stink next year. No one really cares there. I mean, there's what, 2 people? There's not a lot of people covering that football team. Exactly. And they've just dealt with horrible ownership and a terrible regime with Kyman Kingsbury. So it doesn't matter. It's a nice spot to land in. But come on, he's an annoying guy.
So I'm just gonna be I'm gonna speak general here, and I would say Marissa's probably more qualified to speak on this than me. But coaches and players often live in an insulated environment, right? Like they're not reading survey results from a wide swath of the fan base. Okay, they get told inside, this is what this person said about you. They have family members who are obviously sensitive about them, who says this is what they're saying about you, right? And it's very seldom like they're writing this really nice piece. It's usually like offense to whatever characterizations are being made. Essentially, everyone's the protagonist of their own story, whoever it may be, right? And people very seldom. Jason Kelce talks about this better than anyone that I know, where he basically says like, the criticism that you don't buy doesn't bother you as much. It's the criticism that's true that really bothers you. And there's like a degree of self-awareness that you need to have to rectify it. But oftentimes it's very easy to say like, oh, these guys are horrible. These guys don't get me. Or I shouldn't say these guys, these people, men and women. They're writing this, they're saying that. That's not true. And the minor correction that I will have to what you said, Bo, and I'm sorry, Sheil, and this isn't like a woe is me. Yeah, the PR handbook is to say, oh, the fans are amazing. The fans are amazing. The PR handbook is not often to say like the media is amazing, the media is supportive of you. It's very much like they're out to get you. They're saying this. Yeah, they don't understand what you're doing. They don't understand your brilliance, right? So it's very easy to build a defense mechanism against the media because it's much easier to say they're wrong, they don't know what they're doing, than to look inward.
Okay. All right. Now it's time for the main event.
Okay.
The 2023 Owl Draft, wherein the 3 of us will draft 10 players who we think the Eagles are going to draft this weekend. Now, this was a tie last year between Zach and I. The rules of this game are you get 3 points for correctly picking a player who will be drafted by the Eagles, and then you get extra points for the round. So if you get the first round pick correct, that's 4 points. Second round pick, 5 points, and so on and so forth. Zach last year correctly banged Jordan Davis and Cam Jurgens.
Predicted is a better verb.
And I did Kyron Johnson, which I would say was a more impressive prediction as a 6th round pick, but the rules are the rules. That means that I think to determine who goes first, Zach, let's just do rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ready?
Sure.
2 out of 3.
Is this good audio?
Yeah. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You got to hold it up to the camera.
It was a paper. It was a paper.
I know it was, but okay. I had scissors.
Zach,
you had paper.
Yeah, Bo had scissors.
1-0. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. What are you doing, Zach? Hold it up to the camera.
You didn't shoot. I did. You didn't shoot.
I held a fist. That's the round.
Okay.
I'm picturing Marissa talking to her sister, another friend. How you feeling today? What did you do? Well, I watched these two idiots doing APS where they couldn't see each other.
Well, rock, paper, scissors, shoot is a highly, debated thing on this show. So
I love an RPS. Yeah. All right.
Okay,
And
here we
are
go.
we done
Break the
yet?
tie.
Did you?
Ready?
Oh, you're still not
Let's
done.
go.
Okay.
Wait.
hold your hand
Oh
up,
my
Zach.
God.
So you put up rock last time. Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Correct.
1-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
It's a quick game.
Okay.
What is happening?
Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
How many times is he hitting his freaking hand? Bo, you get to go first. You win.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Now I think that this draft, if I remember correctly, is not a snake. This is just a straight 1, 2, 3. So I'll go first. Zach will go second. She'll go third. Sorry.
I
Sheil.
don't remember any draft not being a snake. So if anyone wants to fact check that while Bo lies to his advantage, once again, as usual, then go ahead. Otherwise, I guess we'll just go with that.
Okay. I'm going to go with the player who I think is probably the most likely player to be the first of the Eagles' first round picks, even though I think it's a little bit less exciting. I think maybe it's a small trade down. I'm going to go with Nolan Smith, the Georgia edge rusher,
First
who
pick.
Zach projected in his mock draft to be the Eagles' first round pick. I've said this before. I think the Eagles are entering things on Thursday night with a plan A of hoping to trade up for Will Anderson or potentially Jalen Carter if he's cleared for them.
What do you think, Zach? He was really going out on a limb with those, huh?
I think Paris Johnson and Christian Gonzalez are plan B if they make it to 10. I think plan C is a trade down. And then I think plan D is if nobody wants to move up, you hold your nose and you take Nolan Smith. It's just the measurables are great.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, we know that they like, the Georgia players. I just don't see the huge upside that you would like at 10 in terms of the production you're going to get from him. So that's what I got.
Yeah, I think Nolan Smith. So for full disclosure, I predicted him as Bo said, in our 7-round mock draft this week. Not to tout, but I hit on their first round pick the last 2 years, and in 3 of their last 5 years. So I got Derek Barnett in 2017. So actually 3 of their last 6 because. 18,
less impressive. 60%, 50%.
3 of their last 5 first-round picks because in
there
2018 they didn't draft in the first round.
And we all know the purpose of this exercise is to spread the things that you can brag about as wide as possible. So you don't really want to overlap with the guys we predicted or
that's not
things
true.
that you've called and other things. That's part of the game within the game.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna have
think
to
that
change
either.
my draft board. That is a good point.
But also that is why, by the way, it's taken me now, 4 or 5 years I'm going into my 5th season. So my 4th draft at the Athletic to realize that. And it used to always bother me in our final mock drafts when Bo would predict like 14 trades. But if you predict all these trade downs, you can predict more players. And so you have a greater chance of hitting on a player that they draft. Right. So I always pick fewer players than Bo. And so I have less of
I mean, the game is the game.
That's on you. That's on you.
The game is the game. Yeah.
Exactly. But to get to the Nolan Smith analysis, yeah, he's a unique player. I think that
He's a
he's a what? He's a unique player. Isn't that what I said? A unique
I thought
player?
so. I don't know what. Another example of nobody understanding both.
Yes.
Bo was dying.
I'm sure somebody in there. Yeah. Marissa, you have no idea what's happening.
No.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
as usual.
All I know is at this rate, this pod's going to be 3 hours.
Yeah.
Seriously, let's move.
I mean, you're talking historic athletic numbers. You want to see more pass rush production. We had this conversation last year about Jordan Davis. One can argue that did not go particularly well, but the Georgia defense does not produce prolific sack numbers. If you look at it as his advanced data, his pressure rate, his sack rate, it's up there with the top edge rushers in the whole draft. There's also now his medical. You need to get clearance on that. But I think if Nolan Smith played the entire season last year, we're having a different conversation about where he might get drafted. The comp that you'll hear is Hassan Reddick. I think that's a really good comp. I think everyone's kind of looking for their Micah Parsons type player these days too. That's hard to project. But I think at number 10, Nolan Smith is a matchup between talent, between position priority, between value, and between upside. So that's why I have Nolan Smith at 10 if they stay there.
I'm impressed you were able to keep it going that whole time.
I came here to talk football, so I'm able to talk football.
Yes, Zach.
What would you think of Nolan Smith at 10, Sheil?
I would say he's like the one guy I cannot form a strong opinion on. I don't know. I understand everything Zach said. If you told me he was like the best defensive player in this draft eventually, I would buy that. At the same time, 238 pounds, coming off of a season-ending injury, and never had more than 3.5 sacks in a season in college. At number 10, that, kind of concerns me for the Eagles specifically. You're drafting to replace Hassan Reddick. You have Hassan Reddick for the next 2 years. So is this a guy who is going to be a rotational pass rusher for you for the next 2 years at least? So I can kind of go either way. I think I would like him better if you're trading down, because I understand why people love him. At 10, I would probably I would be on the fence with him.
Yeah, I know that we've talked about it with the Georgia guys before, but there's not much of a precedent for guys with that lack of production playing 4 years in college. It's Michael Bennett, and he went undrafted. That's it among the All-Pro guys, and so it's a bit of a leap. But boy, can he leap!
Who's up?
Zach is up, actually.
And this is 10 players each, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So I'm
Marissa,
going with
let us know if you need a break.
Yeah. I'm going with Jamar Gibbs here because
interesting.
Really?
I didn't.
He knew I had him as the cover photo.
The Alabama running back.
Yeah, Jamar Gibbs, the Alabama running back, because I think he's
it's
in
Jameer, right?
It is, yes.
Jameer.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you.
Oh, man. Well, there goes Zach sleep tonight.
Sorry, Zach. I didn't want to.
No, out of respect to him, I should get his name correct. Jameer Gibbs. Jameer Gibbs, I think he's 30 might be a bit of a stretch, but not out of the question. And I think if they trade down from 30, which I think they're going to try to do, makes a lot of sense in that early second round area. He is a playmaking threat on offense, a 4.36 40. His explosive play potential jumps out to me. 16% of his rushes went for 10 plus yards last season. Pass catching ability. He led Alabama last year with 44 catches, lined up as a receiver. So either in the slot or outside on 26.4% of their passing downs. That stat is thanks to Dane Bergler in the beast. He fits a kind of a committee approach. You hear the Alvin Kamara comp, and I think that's fine for the way the Eagles use their running backs. One thing that I will stress is that when you talk about like the bell cow running back per se, the Bijan Robinson type, the Eagles aren't going to give their running back 25 touches a game. They're going to spread. So I think it's if you're talking about a guy who doesn't require 25 touches a game, let's say, I actually think that fits in their offensive structure. He doesn't have a heavy workload. He makes sense in the passing game. So I can see Gibbs in early round 2, possibility at 30.
I think they would like him. He's dynamic. He's explosive. I do wonder if they're going to use an early second round pick on a guy who is he's a richer version of it, but it's a little bit duplicative with what Kenny Gainwell brings.
Okay. I want to jump in here. I really want to jump in here because I'm sorry. I read this point elsewhere, and I gotta say this. I feel so strongly about this, and this is no knock on Kenny Gainwell, but
Kenny, close your ears. I know you're listening.
Okay, I kept hearing back in 2020 they can't take Justin Jefferson in the slot because it's kind of duplicative of what they have with Greg Ward, right? Greg Ward was coming off a decent season.
Okay,
Kenny Gainwell
I was not saying that.
They were saying they need an outside guy because they already have a slot guy.
They were listening to Sheil.
I don't think they said it was duplicative. I just think they thought they needed an outside guy. I don't think it was we don't want a slot guy.
They talked about how they had Ertz and Goddard and how they had Greg Ward, and they need someone for the outside. Kenny Gainwell, nice player, not a reason to pass on someone who if you think that he is,
I think that's fair,
like a Pro Bowl caliber player. So in that case, have guys with duplicative skill sets. I'm fine with
I think that's fair. Go ahead, Sheil. What were you going to say about Gibbs?
No, I had the same question as you did, but I'm glad that you were the one to ask it and not me, because I saw Zach's reaction there. As passionate as he's been for this 7 hour episode.
I came here to talk football.
He finally woke up.
Okay. I have so many draft opinions and so few
peeing opinions.
Yeah, yes. I have so few peeing opinions. Peeing is utilitarian. Football is my job. So
especially when you're a eunuch. All right, go ahead, Sheil.
So you get more points if you hit a later round pick. Is that correct?
Correct.
This is your Jack Driscoll.
Correct. Thank you. I will go with Braden Daniels, offensive lineman.
Oh, I like that.
From Utah, 6'4", 294, 307 at his pro day. I don't know how these guys put on 13 pounds in 2 weeks, but a lot of PB&Js. Marissa, any insight there?
Lots of protein drinks.
Yeah.
I think Michael put on like 60 pounds his freshman year of college.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They make them drink these shakes that have you've seen the videos, like 700 calories, 800 calories, or, and like several times a day.
Whew.
Yeah. Crazy.
Those are guys who need to pee sitting down. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. He started, Daniel.
Then you lose too much weight.
Daniel started 43 games, 17 at left guard, 14 at left tackle, 12 at right tackle, elite athletic testing, did not miss a game the last 4 years, reportedly had a pre-draft visit with the Eagles. So I don't know. It seems like Zach, I saw you had him in your mock today. My mock is on the Ringers Philly Special, latest episode. You can listen to all of my picks for 7 rounds. I had him in mine too. So he seemed like a guy they could pick. That's all.
I'm sorry, I haven't listened yet. What round did you have him in?
I had them doing a trade where they got a 5th round pick and took him in the 5th round. Where did you have him?
Yeah, same thing. And for full disclosure here, I thought he was like a late 3rd round player. I mean, and then when I kind of cross-checked against Dane Brugler's 7 round mock drafts, I was like, oh, 5th round. And so then I had them doing a trade down and adjusted it accordingly. But I would be on board with this pick. Versatility, and it's similar to Jack Driscoll a few years ago. And Jack Driscoll is going to be a free agent next year. You need that type of versatile offensive lineman. I think he can grow into more. Athletically, he's one of, I believe, 5 offensive tackles in this draft to run a sub 540.
All right. I'm going to stick with trying to get the first pick. And I go back and forth on whether I think the Eagles are going to clear Jalen Carter. You think back to the guys who they have taken. I don't know that they're going to love like the person, Jalen Carter. I don't think they like to take someone like that at the top of their draft. But I think that they can talk themselves into, we've got the infrastructure here to make it work. And as we've talked about, as obvious as it is, boy, is he awesome on tape and on the field. It's exactly what this defense needs. How do you replace Javon Hargrave? Well, you get Jalen Carter. And I think if they have cleared him and he's on the board at 7, I think they'd be willing to move up. And I think Howie would like to do that. And so I'm going to take Jalen Carter here.
Sheil, do you think Seattle takes him at 5?
I'm kind of on the fence. Is one of those quarterbacks available too at 5?
Let's say CJ Stroud, but not Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the fence with that. I could also see them going in like a total. I mean, they're kind of do some crazy stuff in the first round. Like they could take a player who's neither Jalen Carter or I would say yes, though, if I had to pick. I was kind of 50-50, but I think just his upside is as good as any player in this draft. And I had the Eagles trading up to 7 and taking Jalen Carter as my official pick.
So I think Bo hit it on the head there in the analysis. I think what Sheil said, I can definitely see if he gets past Seattle at 5 and then maybe Detroit at 6, but I think Seattle's really the pivot point to watch there. I think the Eagles trade up. I think 10 to 7 makes sense. Vegas, when you look at what they need, the player that the pool of players are probably interested in at 7 would probably be there at 10 anyways, right? And it just makes so much sense for the Eagles. So I probably should have gone with him at number 2 in this exercise. But yeah, I wanted to have the Eagles in my mock draft trading up to 7. I just didn't know. I didn't know if he would get past Seattle at 5. And you hear different things there.
All right. You're on the board, Zach.
Okay. I'm going to go Julius Brents, a cornerback from Kansas State. Julius Brents has the longest wingspan among the corners in this draft, 82 and 5/8 inches. He's 6'3", 198, 34-inch arms. He has experience at corner and safety, had some ball production last year, was a transfer from Iowa, started his career at Iowa, transferred to Kansas State thereafter, a little on the older side. You don't love to see that. Reportedly,
is it Julius Brents or is it Brent Julius's?
It's Julius Brents. And he's another player, as I said, who reportedly visited the Eagles. Sean Desai was in Seattle last year, saw Tariq Woolen. I think it's a stretch Tariq Woolen had historic speed at 6'4". He was like a 4.26 guy or something like that. But Brents doesn't have that type of speed. But in terms of the size, the ability to use that length, Brents is rare in that regard. So I could see that.
And the Eagles had him in for a visit, right?
Yes. And shout out, the Eagles website does a good job with some of these behind the scenes videos. A few weeks ago, they had Amina and Matt Russell at the Senior Bowl. Earlier this week, they had one come out with Darren Sproles and Ryan Myers at the Combine. And I bring that up because Darren Sproles is a Kansas State guy. So yeah, you have Darren Sproles tapping into his K-State network to figure out.
Like a Deuce Vaughn, Zach?
I mean, you give me a 5'5" running back?
Yeah,
of course I do. Yes.
All right. Yeah, I can see Brent's. I think corner on day 2 of the draft is like, assuming that they don't draft Christian Gonzalez, is close to as sure of a thing as you could probably get for a position.
Can I influence my pick with that comment there?
Yeah.
Looking at my board here. Let's see. Should I do it? Or should I go there? Try to hit on another late rounder. I don't think you guys are going to choose that guy, so I'll save him a little bit. I will go with a DJ Turner, cornerback from Michigan. I think he would
play Marissa's wedding.
Fit into that day 2. 5'11", 178, short arms, 22 starts the last 2 seasons, has played outside in the slot, ran a 4.26 at the Combine. So yes, if you're looking at corners that could be in the mix there on day 2, I think he's in the mix. I had him in my Eagles only mock. I will go with a DJ Turner.
Yeah, he's a little bit slight, but you would think fits the speed emphasis.
Get him some of those protein shakes Marissa's talking about.
That's right. Okay, I got a couple late guys I want to hit on, but I want to do one more chalk pick, not at the top of the draft, but the guy who I think is very popularly mocked to the Eagles at the back end of the first round, or if they trade down a little bit, and that is Zach's boy, Adetomiwa Adebawore. We've got the Tony Pauline connection. He hacked into Howie's phone. Password was 6969, and he found out that Howie's been just drawing doodles of Adetomi Adebawore, rather. Of course, Pauline had Cam Jurgens last year. You would imagine that this is a guy who fits what the Eagles want, to find somebody who can play a little bit of a 3-4 end and also 4-3 inside on pass rush downs. He's got crazy explosiveness. He was mostly a defensive end in college, but the expectations are that he'll be mostly inside at the next level. Ran a 4.45 at like 280 pounds, something like that. And so I think, like, how do we find a guy to play with Milton Williams, a guy who's similarly explosive?
What do you think?
Well, I was thinking about picking him with my last pick, and I went to click on the beast to get the pronunciation right, and it asked me to put my password back in. So then I was scrambling a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just go with DJ Turner here.
Classic.
Maybe he'll be back. So if you
got to keep that tab open.
It's been open. It's been open since it came out. Yeah. Why am I getting to put the password back in?
Every now and then, like if you restart or I don't know.
No restart over here. No. Okay. So, yeah, I could say
you cleared your cookies. I don't know.
No, Bo, do you want now? Zach had a comment last week that the best pieces of draft content he had read were your pieces, which I thought were great. Your little buckets. I added those notes to my spreadsheet here. Would you have any interest? Like if the Athletic called you tomorrow and was like, we want you to join our staff of draft writers here, really up it. It's going to be like a year-round thing. You can still do some Eagle stuff. You can still do Birds with Friends, but the draft is going to be your main focus. How would you feel about that?
I don't think it's the right gig for me. I'm not. I can't talk intelligently enough about like the players on tape as much as I'm like just looking at historical
you could compliment the people who can do that.
Well, potentially. I'd rather,
Nate Tice says, I like a player X. You go, there's only been one player in the last 17 years to do it at that guy's size.
You know what my problem is? I have all this information.
I have a lot of guesses.
Yeah, I got a lot of problems. I have all this information, but I am not good enough at like retaining all of the information and keeping it at a moment's notice. Like I have to go back and look at the stuff myself to remind myself what the tent poles are at each position and who doesn't fit it. I don't know. Memory's not good enough.
Zach's got to have.
I'd rather be writing less and longer than doing that kind of stuff.
Well, a few things there. What Sheil? Wait, writing less and longer. Interesting. Okay. What Sheil was saying before if I can tout up Sheil here, what I always admire about Sheil, like, is that he found.
Boy, can he drink?
he found something
he absolutely cannot.
He found something that people weren't doing as well, and he leaned into it and really carved a niche out of it. And it wasn't like exclusive, the only thing he could do, but he really when he came onto the Eagles beat, he said, all right, there's X amount of people doing this. I'm going to do that and do it really well. So what you were saying about like breaking down film, if we have people doing that, but we don't have people doing this, you can really fill a void, right? Like you don't want to be a Jahmyr Gibbs and Kenny Gainwell, right? You want to be you want to
Wait,
feel
which one would
you want to feel different.
That'd be Boston Scott.
But no, I don't have I tend to have a decent memory. When I read something, I remember it, but so it's harder for me to give advice there. I wish I could nail pronunciations the way Bo does, right? But I tend to retain something that if I wrote something, I will remember those numbers without having to look it up.
Oh, well, all right. It must be nice to be you.
That wasn't a flex. Sheil said.
Of course that was a flex.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Who's up?
Zach's up.
I mean,
round 3 here.
This exercise, round 3. No
okay.
Snake.
I'm going to stick the chalk here, and I'm not going first round because Bo took my first round pick, and I can circle back to that because there's actually, you know what? I'm not going to go chalk here. I'm going to go Paris Johnson Jr. With this spot, and I'm going Paris Johnson Jr. I think Chicago is likely to take him at 9, but there's a chance where Chicago takes Skoronski at 9. I think Chicago's taking offensive line at 9, and if they don't take Paris Johnson, and Paris Johnson's on the board. And there have been talks about Paris Johnson moving up. Although if Paris Johnson goes 3, I got to say, Gannon, what are you doing, man? Like either trade back or take Will Anderson.
Listen, last year you were yelling at him that he wasn't doing enough with the offensive line.
Exactly.
But he should be fired, even though the team was 8-1. So now
all of a sudden, I'm not supposed to stop guys who are blitzing. Oh, okay.
Paris Johnson Jr. I really like Paris Johnson Jr. I like the profile. I like the age. I like the college production.
You like the major. You like that he wrote from the school paper. We had this pegged a year ago that this was going to be your guy.
Yeah, I've been talking him up ever since the first article I read about him writing for the Lantern. Right. But I think it makes an awful lot of sense. And as I said on our pod with Jimmy, I don't know why all of a sudden we're just anointing Cam Jurgens the starting right guard. If they draft Paris Johnson Jr. at number 10 overall, and you think he can play right guard, let him compete. But if worst case scenario, he's your swing tackle this year, that's a valuable role. We've seen that they're going to need reserve tackles. They presently don't have someone who can play left tackle. I've said this on the pod multiple times that when Howie Roseman looks at the years,
erasure, but
what's that?
Brett Toth erasure, but
when did erasure become such a part of the lexicon here?
I think you've done.
No
this
one
bit
said
before.
that. Okay, well, why people are still saying it? For 35 years, no one ever said the word erasure. Now everything is erasure and everything is unserious. Why? Why is everything erasure and unserious all of a sudden?
I mean, the language evolves. Words pop up, they rise, they fall. I don't know what to tell you.
So when Howie Roseman looks back at the years when things went to shit, or when years,
the guy can't make it through one episode without dropping a curse
have
word.
A mature audience. My people are a little younger. Children like.
Sorry.
Be listening to this episode.
Years when things went bad, when they went all awry. 2012 and 2020, and there are a handful of things there that you can look at. But one of the common things in both those years is the offensive line was devastated by injuries. And I think Howie will do everything he can to protect offensive line depth. Maybe he could have signed Michael Dunn if he really wanted to do that well. But I think Paris Johnson Jr. Makes – if they took him at number 10, I know fans might not – or there might be a segment of fans that are saying, why are you taking someone who's going to sit, or offensive line's not a need? I wouldn't criticize that pick. I think that would make sense.
I would like to pick too. I just think the tackles are going to go up the board. I don't think he's going to be there at 10. I don't think they would trade up for him because it's not necessarily the position they would love most to have. But I think if he's there at 10, they would take him because it's what they value. But I just think he's going to go.
Yeah, I think Vegas and Chicago are two spots to watch.
Yeah. All right, Sheil.
I will go with, let's see here, a Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle.
That's what I was about to go with.
Out of Florida, if they don't get the Jalen Carter in the first round, they've been looking at all these defensive tackles. Maybe there's one later, but Dexter would be a day 2 pick, right?
Is probably
Dean's got him 55th overall, 6'6", 310. Not a ton of pass rush production, but big, strong, powerful man. Gervon Dexter.
Awesome athlete. Good, interesting. You draft him because he has the traits, he's young, raw, and you can develop him. And he develops behind Fletcher Cox for a year, then he joins Jordan Davis and Milton Williams in a bigger role next year. But to Bo's point, 21 true, or to Bo's taste, I should say, 21 true junior, right? A 3-year college player, which sometimes you like because they have the upside there. And the 4.88 40 at 310 pounds jumps up, and then he can play multiple spots along the defensive line. If you're looking for like a versatile player who this guy isn't just this gap, then Dexter fits that.
Yeah, looking at the notes from that one of those pieces now, just because I didn't remember it. I do remember. I am surprised by how rare it is for a second-round defensive tackle to pop. There's only been 3 in the past 11 years. You would think that it's a position that goes more often, and so there would be more. I don't know necessarily why that is, but I mean, you're not drafting him to necessarily be an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler. You're hoping for good depth, but I do like the swing, the profile. All right, I'm going to go with one of my duplications who I had in my mock draft today. I feel really good about this one. I think the Eagles are going to pick up some day 3 capital with the trade down at some point. I think they want to replace, the dirty work that Zach Pascal does in the passing game, but also maybe a little bit more upside, a guy who can contribute and potentially be a Quez Watkins replacement down the line. And you know that Nick Sirianni's calling around to his old buddy Tom Manning about the guy who was an all Big 12 receiver for 3 years. Shout out to our buddy Chisholm from Oklahoma, who loves Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State. I think this is a bullseye right here.
A Fran Duffy favorite, I believe. I think he likes Xavier Hutchinson.
And the good thing about Iowa State wide receivers is you can count on them to throw that one target fade on 4th down in the end zone when you really need it.
It's a Hakeem Butler reference for those who don't get it. Good job, Bo. I
think that you could just leave that one unsaid for the Easter egg for the sickos.
I think if a listener is driving on Roosevelt Boulevard right now, listening to this pod,
tough road to drive on, by the way, Roosevelt Boulevard.
Yeah, very tough.
I had never been to I did not spend a lot of time in the Northeast. Then my little brother was in the Northeast and debating, do I go on these 3? Am I supposed to be on these 3? There's a splitter in between. I mean, a lot of stuff going on Roosevelt Boulevard.
Yeah, I think it was at one point voted one of the most dangerous roads in the United States. Yeah,
makes sense.
Make sure you wear your seatbelt when you're there.
Correct. Don't text or look at Google Maps on your phone.
I like Hutchinson, and I debated having him in my mock, limited athletically relative to some other wide receivers, but the production you like, the size you like, obviously the Eagles have a history with him, and so as a middle round guy, as a Zach Pascal replacement, makes sense.
You're up.
You're up.
So I'm gonna stay with the Cyclones here, and
your boy,
Anthony Johnson Jr. Anthony Johnson Jr. is a safety from Iowa State. And this isn't just a Nick Sirianni connection with Matt Campbell and that Iowa State staff. The new Eagles defensive backs coach, DK McDonald, was on the staff at Iowa State.
Donkey Kong McDonald.
When Anthony Johnson played. Tyler Scudder, the Eagles assistant linebackers coach, was I think a quality control coach at Iowa State there. So they have insight on a player who was like a 5-year starter at Iowa State, was a corner for 4 years, switched to safety last year, productive player in college, started 51 games, contributed on special teams, 4.5, 440, 5'11", 205. So decent physical traits. Interestingly, and I'll give a shout out here. I mean, Dane's the Beast is the best, but I thought Pro Football Focus has a really good draft guide as well. And
Bo disagrees.
Okay.
I don't know. He was just making a face like a little baby who just
break down their graphics.
Marissa, you'll know that face soon enough.
Yeah. I like that. Anyways, they had Johnson as a top 100 player, which you don't kind of see elsewhere. But Anthony Johnson Jr. as a safety converted corner, I think it's kind of like a TJ Edwards-esque pick. TJ Edwards was not a starter. Was not a drafted player for the Eagles, but just a really solid college player. And Anthony Johnson Jr. was a solid college player at Iowa State.
I'm just thinking, Marissa's got to be like, what the hell?
No, I think this is great. I mean,
what round are we in? Don't you have to go to the bathroom or take a nap? Or
I definitely have to go to the bathroom, and I'm a little hungry. But I will say, Michael just got out of his practices or meetings, whatever, and texted, "Love having Sheil back." So,
thank you to an MD. Should be here. I mean, honestly, he shouldn't be having a text. He should say. We haven't started our off season. We know they did.
Wait, you think the two of you would hang out if you played here? I mean, how?
When did I say that? I didn't say that. I mean, we could. But I didn't say that. Did I say that? I say we'd text Marissa. You shouldn't be having to text Marissa from another city. So settle down there. And yes, I would love that. We would absolutely hang out. We'd hit up a little Top Golf.
Yeah.
We'd invite him when we're playing here at Paxson. We have a lot of things in common.
He's like,
don't be so offended by that.
He's the girl's #1 cookie buyer.
Yeah. Jeez, Zach, man.
Zach doesn't appreciate
me hanging
the concept
out
of friends.
With Michael Dunn. It's so crazy to Zach. Jeez.
Zach made all his friends in high school. He still keeps in touch with every single one of them. He's got 14 brothers. That's about it. No more new friends.
You
for Zach.
two would hang out? Maybe. Jeez. All right. Okay.
All right, Sheil.
What round are we on?
You're on the clock. This is the last pick of round 4.
Round 4.
Are we doing 10 rounds of this?
We sure
10
are.
rounds, yeah.
Absurd. All right.
Can we just do 5 rounds?
No, we have to do 10 rounds. We can go quicker if you want.
Sorry.
I will go with a little Tucker Craft action. My old, I can bring the old resources. Who do you like? Who are your favorite day 2 tight end prospects? Do you have?
I like Kraft and Laporta.
Okay.
I like Darnell Washington.
Okay. I look at Tucker Craft, South Dakota State. I think you guys have discussed the reasoning here. Dallas Goedert has missed some games over the last 3 years. They play a little 12 personnel anyway. They drafted Goddard when Hurts was this age, yada, yada, yada. Tucker Craft. There you go. I actually, as I was doing my mock, I was like, ooh, I think they're going to take a tight end on day 2 here.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I think they're fine. I mean,
they are fine.
Your point that
it could be like a best available type thing. Yeah.
We want to add one offensive weapon, and that's the best offensive weapon on the board. I think that's possible. I think the needs are more pronounced at running back and wide receiver, but it's not crazy. I'm going to go with a player again for the back end of round 1, more likely early round 2. How do we get another buddy for Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis? We love these guys with championship pedigree. Need a little length on the outside. Keely Ringo.
Like a Keely.
Really? Oh, you haven't taken the player who you mocked to the Eagles, right?
That's true.
He explained why he does it. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that way he's
getting as many.
That one I have that one is mine for sure. I get all the credit if that happens. So I don't need to necessarily cover that base.
He's got. You see, I answer these honestly. I'm not trying to.
I answer it honestly too, but I'm just playing percentages.
You like Keely Ringo?
I actually don't love Keely Ringo.
Little stiff hipped. No.
Yeah, I didn't love watching him up there in Princeton, New Jersey, with your boy, Coach Flynn. But
how do I loosen my hips? What are the exercises to loosen my hips? I feel like there's a big issue for me. I cannot turn properly. My whole body turns. Look at this.
Yeah, there's
that seems like a neck issue too.
Yeah, there are stretches you can do for it, but often
you got some good ones. Marissa, you got some good ones?
No, I could use some too.
Yeah, it's like I just want to be able to turn better.
The third hour of this podcast will be stretching.
Yeah.
I can't.
There are places there. There are places that are popping up now, like the stretch zone where they can.
I've seen this. Talk to me about these places. Someone sent me these places. Have you been to one, Zach?
Yeah,
Is it just the guy who used to stretch?
Wait, tell
Jason
me.
Peters?
What do they do? I want to hear all about this. Screw there. You could pick whoever you want for me in the final five.
It's like when you watch, NBA games, how you're on the court before the game and they stretch. They do that, and you can sign up for a subscription. You can go. You can get a free stretch to start with. But they advertise on 97.5 all the time. If you listen to the John Kincaid show, shout out John Kincaid. I'll be on Friday. But yeah, so
it's like a cross between like a massage and physical therapy.
Yeah, but it's not massage. Like
it's not massage. It's not physical therapy.
Yeah, they stretch you for 30 minutes. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
So, all right. So you go there. You're in athletic gear, like workout gear, I presume.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you lay on it.
No, it's like there's a bunch of people in there.
All right. Are you on a table or is it like a mat?
You're on a table. Yeah.
Okay. And do you tell them like, here's what I want stretched?
You could, yes.
Exactly. And who are these people? Are they getting random strangers? Because I'll ask Leela to just push my leg.
No, they're trained. They're
child labor.
They're trained. Okay. And you tell them what you want stretched, or are they just like, don't worry, we got this?
Well, I mean, I don't want to speak for them here, but like your first in the
you don't want to speak for the person
you did it.
You out.
Yeah. So when you in the session, the first session there, they'll evaluate like where you're particularly tight, areas of weakness, things like that. But then
what was your scouting report?
In subsequent sessions, you can like if you want to loosen your hips, but oftentimes everything's it's the old song,
it's all connected. Yeah, it's all
so
it's all about the core,
No, but if you think you have tight hips, sometimes it could be based on your hamstrings or your calves, right? And so if you stretch that out, that will increase your range of motion on your hips, and you'll have looser hips. So it's just something.
Did you feel a material difference after you went?
Yes, I did. Yeah, for sure.
Really? Yeah. This sounds great. Now, did you, now we know you, we've seen you, you like to strike up a conversation. So were you chatting the whole time?
Really
did you have
question.
AirPods in? What was it like?
No, they were chatting with me. I mean, it's like, they're probably, they have
I
things
picture,
to go through,
I picture Zach on his back. This person's got his legs like pushing above his ears. Zach's folded like a pretzel, and he's just like, "So do you enjoy your job?" You're like,
no,
what do you love about your job? What did you learn from your father?
You get like, who are the Eagles going to pick? That kind of thing, right? So,
because once they find out the job, then they want to talk bird.
Or they might recognize you when you come in.
Did that happen? Did they recognize you?
They definitely did.
You gotta be you gotta. This needs to be like a personal sponsor.
Are you sure that it's a free first one, or did you just get a freebie because you're Zach Berman?
No, you can get, if you go to their website now, you can get a free one. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But if they're listening and you want to be an advertiser on Birds with Friends,
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Happy to do that.
All right, Zach, you're on the board for the second pick of the 5th round.
Sounds amazing. I would much rather talk more about that, but yeah, go ahead.
So I've mainly been sticking to the middle and the later rounds so far, but I'll go with
Zach. You have Paris Johnson and Jahmyr Gibbs as 2 of your 4. So
now he's flustered. Come on.
I'll go Lucas Van Ness. I don't think the Eagles. I don't think that's the direction the Eagles are going to go. But I can see it if the board's not great at 10, or if they trade back a few spots. Young edge rusher, Bo and Sheil are really high on him. So
I thought Bo spoke a little too much. Like I liked him more than I thought. I definitely didn't like him as much as Bo liked him, I thought.
Well, I don't. My point was not that I love him. It was that I was expecting to really not like him, and I thought he was pretty good.
I thought you went a little overboard with your comment.
Okay, well,
yeah, I mean, really good athletically. Had solid production for someone who did not start. I think if you take away the did not start part of it and you just watched him play, there are things to like there. So yeah, I mean, that's not a pick that I would say, man, you have a top 10 pick. You came away with Lucas Van Ness, but I can see why they would do it.
I think the theory of Lucas Van Ness, like what if you were envisioning success, it's exactly the kind of player the Eagles would want, whether or not they think that he has that path. Here's a huge.
And by the way, this game is predictive. This game's predictive. It's not who we like.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Okay. I want to make sure that's clear.
Huge flex here, but I was on Mike Missinelli's podcast this morning.
Whoa!
And he asked me a
now
Lucas Van Ness question.
You know, his former employee got rid of him. His Zach is trying to get them stretching endorsements. So
he asked me a question that I, usually around draft time, you're getting questions you're expecting. Didn't know this one was coming. Zach probably has heard this because he read, Missinelli read it somewhere. There's a report somewhere that Lucas Van Ness, like the Eagles gave him a playbook that had $100 bill in it. And Lucas Van Ness took the $100 bill. And then they asked him if they took the $100 bill, if he took it. And he said no. And he lied. And so now, and then he had to eventually come clean. And he, like, that's like a character red flag. Maybe he just made this thing up because it sounded ridiculous to me, but I thought it was very funny.
If that's the thing, you should have led the podcast with that.
That's from Draft Day, the movie.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So do you think Missinelli was playing a joke on me or someone was playing a joke on him? Probably the latter.
I don't know, but I'm now much more likely to listen to that podcast.
That's a famous story.
Oh, that's a famous
story. And that was in Draft Day, the movie.
I had no idea either.
Oh, that's really
funny. I have not heard that in conjunction. I have not heard that in conjunction with the Eagles or Lucas
Okay, good.
Van
All
Ness.
right. Well, I thought it was very funny. I was like very flustered when he asked me about this.
So you answered it seriously.
He's like, "Have you heard about this?" I was like, "No, I haven't heard about this. I cannot confirm nor deny."
What was your read? Now that you think about it, do you think he was playing a joke on you?
No, I think someone played a joke on him.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Also, like I'm seeing in the chat here, they don't really have paper playbooks anymore. It's on the iPad now. They do give handouts.
Give a prospect a play the whole playbook.
Also, what playbook are they giving their edge rusher?
Right, exactly.
Toward the quarterback, I mean, how many pages are in there that Lucas?
I tell you, I was like, it's like, no, I haven't heard this.
Marissa, whether Bo wants you to or not, I would suggest the next episode just let's cut that audio and lead with Bo talking about this fictional thing.
I was gonna say, like, how is this not all over?
I was like, how did Zach not see it?
Yeah, someone said John Barchan tweeted it as a joke.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That I have not heard that to be the case,
right.
I've not heard the Eagles ever doing that. So
I was ready to go the other way, like high character, like this guy just takes what he wants, like he's not afraid. You can spin it.
You want that from your edge rusher. You don't want it from your guard.
Exactly. You don't want it from your center. Yeah.
But there is for the reporters listening here. There's an old a media story that the Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins now once put in their game notes. Right, game notes are famously long. Right, on like page 20 of the game notes. If you read this, come to the PR rep and collect whatever the prize was. And they wanted to see who reads the game notes.
And who read it.
Zach Berman. Even though he was not on the team at the time.
I mean, if John Gannon from the Eagles is here, if he's listening, I doubt he's I don't know if he's listening or not, but he can tell you every August when that media guy comes out, I will text him like my favorite nuggets that are in there.
Nick Herbig floating. Nate Herbig. Sorry. All right, Sheil, you're on the clock.
All right. I'm on the clock here.
Halfway done.
I mean, I have so many names here. I will go with Jaquelin Roy, defensive tackle out of LSU.
Speaking of succession.
Day 3-ish. Probably don't need to talk too much more about him. Who's up?
I'm up. Yeah, they had him in for a visit. That's really the notable thing.
They're looking at a lot of DTs, a little lottery ticket on a day 3 pick.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm going to go sticking with Eagles plucking from Alabama and Georgia. Position of need. I think maybe middle rounds. Maybe it's, he did not test well. Maybe he falls to like round 5 or 6. Ouch, I stubbed my Henry To'o. Mm-hmm. There you go. Played a lot. Nicholas Morrow is scheduled to start. They're going to need somebody better.
He wanted more of a reaction.
2 years Tennessee. 2 years Tennessee, transferred to Alabama. Yeah, that's what you need to know.
All right. Okay.
I'm going with a combination here that is near and dear to my heart. Okay. He went to my alma mater.
Yeah,
and he's from my mother's homeland.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a little bit like sort of embarrassing that in our mock drafts I had the Syracuse guy for you and you had the Wake Forest guy for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's actually multiple Syracuse guys, so
there's multiple Wake Forest guys. Ding dong.
Make sure that tobacco money heard how happy Bo is about Wake Forest.
Tobacco money.
What does that have to do with Wake Forest?
Tobacco Road? Is that what he's like?
No, isn't that a big thing in Winston-Salem?
Oh yeah, I mean the town was built on
tobacco money.
Tobacco,
yes.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes,
yeah.
That's the Winston.
But I'm saying that there are plenty of Wake Forest prospects.
I know. I was saying don't piss off the Wake Forest.
I see.
Alums. Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, piss on us.
So Matthew Bergeron, tackle from Syracuse, who is from Quebec. He has some guard flexibility.
French is his first language. I'd love to have a little with him.
And would he like
Michael
to have
does that all the time, so that was like kind of scary. My worlds were really colliding. When anyone says anything French, Michael will go, "Oh."
My
So I was
man.
like, "Oh
I'd
no."
love to hear that, but I'm never gonna be able
We're
to
gonna-
hang out with them. Yeah,
We're gonna
I
do
wish I could hear
a
that.
90-minute podcast of just Michael and I doing very offensive French accents.
Shout out to Lucas Weiss from The Athletic. He had a good Matthew Bergeron feature that you can check out. It doesn't have like, off the page traits, and with Jeff Stoutland, sometimes you might lean more toward a traits based player than him. But he what he doesn't have is a lot of football experience. So if you think that whatever he's shown you at Syracuse, there's more to scratch, then that could be interesting at the end of round 2, early round 3.
And I do think that tackle, like a guy who can play tackle and guard, is a big target possibility for day 2, because I think there's a pretty big drop off on day 3.
Emily weighs in. What's going on in there? How long have you been on? You better be done soon.
Seriously,
Wow.
I'm with her. Oh, speaking of which, I wanted to ask you about the drink. You said Celsius now. Shit,
Yes.
Are you still? Because I was looking up the ingredients. I'd never heard of it, and that's got a little sucralose in it, which I try to stay away from. A little artificial sweetener. You all right with the artificial sweetener?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. Do you drink
Honestly,
like a Diet Coke? Do you drink like a diet soda?
not a huge soda guy, but I'm trying. Yeah, if
Okay.
I'm trying to find a caffeine fix, and
Okay.
Is this
I don't want-
is this a thing that you sought out, or is this a thing that Emily brought home and put in front of you and you just drank it?
Well, I know Emily is very.
Celsius?
I-
Yeah,
soda.
that was
she's
her,
got
yeah.
a great beat on like the healthy stuff. I like, I was very interested when I heard she
Yeah.
brought you the drinks. Let's get her. If you want to text back, say your thoughts on sucralose and other artificial sweeteners, and then we can mix that in once we get to round 47 or whatever it's going to be.
Well,
All
she's
right.
on a work call now, so I can't.
Okay. Well, priorities, but okay. I will go with. I guess I should get one of these first round options in here and go with a little Christian Gonzalez. So I was debating, Bo, in my 7-round mock, because I was actually going to do what you talked about. Like I did Jalen Carter on the ringer. Then I'm like, maybe for the Ringers Philly special, I go someone else. I get 2 bites at the apple. I can claim I'm right for either of them. I didn't do that. I went with Jalen Carter on the podcast. But if I had him sit at 10, I was really trying to go through who's going to be available if they have to make a pick at 10. Like if I told you right now, they're picking at 10, they're not trading up, they're not trading back, who's the most likely prospect? Who would you answer?
I think my answer is, well, I think it's Christian Gonzalez. That's what I said in my mock, because as I played out the first 9 picks, I think I'm expecting the tackles to go up a little bit high.
I agree. That's where I landed also.
And the corners to drop. And I think he's a good chance of falling to 10. And I think if he's there, I think the Eagles would take him.
ZB, what do you think? If they have to pick a 10 and you said this is the most likely guy, if they sit there and don't move, here's who they pick.
Nolan Smith.
Interesting. Okay. That would fit more, because I was trying to think about how they think about cornerbacks. Like the last 2 years, Jason in the comments says monk fruit extract. That's right. That's not an artificial sweetener. So you're good with like a stevia or a monk fruit extract. The sucralose, the NutraSweet, those, I get a little worried about at this age. But what was I saying?
You're trying to think about.
You were
how
talking
the
about
Eagles think
corners
about
last
cornerback.
year with
Yes.
Stingley
For the last 2 years, Howie's just been like, I'm chilling at corner. Something will work out at some point in the offseason. First with Steven Nelson and then with James Bradbury. So is that like that just happened the last 2 years? Is that a preference thing? They haven't drafted a corner. Has it just not worked out? We know they've been interested in corners in the past. I feel like Gonzalez is a fantastic prospect. Like if you sit at 10 and you get an above average starting outside cornerback who has all the physical traits, I feel like that's a very nice outcome. So I like Gonzalez a lot. And for as much as we all, talk about they're going to trade up, they're going to trade back, there has to be another team who wants to do that. And sometimes you just kind of don't find that and you sit there and you pick. So I will go with Gonzalez. I think that will be a fine pick at number 10.
I would go like a touch further in that. I think if he's at 10, I think they're not that interested in trading out unless they're blown away by an offer. Whereas if I think I think if he's off the board, then they really want to move back and get value and get somebody at a next tier. I think they view him as part of the tier of difference-making prospect at a position that they care about.
Yeah, he seems like a clean prospect, premium position. Might not work out, but you could easily talk yourself in. You don't have to talk yourself into like some one big thing with him. It's like, all right,
exactly.
He's big, he's fast, he was good in college, he plays a premium position. Go ahead.
And I do think to the discussion you were touching on before, I do think I view cornerback as different than the other positions they haven't drafted in the first round under Howie Roseman. We know that they were interested in Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn 2 years ago. We know they were interested in Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley last year. I think if they view him as that level prospect, I think they would absolutely pull the trigger.
All right.
I'm going to go back end of the first round, a guy who we've talked about before, Brian Bruzzi, the defensive tackle from Clemson, has had an underwhelming career production-wise, had the torn ACL, dealt with some personal tragedy last year. His sister passed away, but he was a very highly rated high school prospect, was very good as a true freshman, and fits the need that the Eagles have for that, pass rushing interior presence.
Marissa.
There's no reason why Brian Bruzzi should be available at the number 30 spot. And if he is, the Eagles shouldn't think twice. They should take Brian Bruzzi.
I mean, I just told you the reasons. He
no
tore his
reason.
ACL and he wasn't that.
I know.
Bad.
I'm just saying
legitimate reasons why he.
I'm saying as
the personal stuff is like I can't even imagine.
Seriously.
So like I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope he goes high.
I was going to ask something completely off topic, Marissa, so it's going to be a weird transition here. I was going to ask you about the gluten-free options at Yankee Stadium and whether you're familiar with them. Do they have good gluten-free options or not?
Yes, so they actually do. They have like a separate gluten-free stand.
Okay.
That you can get because you've complained about the vegetarian option.
Oh, we went again this year. Terrible. Nothing.
Really?
Garbanzo beans.
I'm pretty sure they had like a Beyond Burger at the gluten-free stand too. I'm pretty sure
they're not.
They have their it's own separate stand, so you don't have any like cross contamination. Yeah. They have the Udi's gluten-free buns. You could get like a hamburger, or a hot dog. So I mean, I'll look that up for you, but I want you guys to, I know the girls are Phillies fans, but we need to keep Jessica's, Yankee fandom.
Well, listen, she was wearing a Philly shirt when we went to Phillies Yankees for that. You saw the photos. I mean, she said, my kids, they got their happiness over mine. And like Naya probably wouldn't have let her in the car if she had a Yankee shirt on. But we went to Citizens Bank Park and just got to give them a shout out. They got vegetarian options everywhere. Clearly looked at ZB's old Inky, had a nice piece on it. Here's where you go, what sections readily available, and I thought they had nice gluten-free options, it looked like, as well. So I don't know that you've been to CBP, but
I have not.
They'll take care of you there also. All right,
interesting.
That was an important,
when we hang out, when we all hang out,
when Michael's doing something else and I'm hanging out with you and your daughter.
And Zach will sit down and say, I think we need more ads.
Yeah. All right.
Zach, you're on the board.
Yeah. So you don't have to teach me. You don't have to teach me this. You can't teach height. You can't teach size. And DeJuan Jones, to use Nick Sirianni's expression, you want him at the front when you get off the bus, right? You want DeJuan Jones and Jordan Mailata getting off the bus first. And it's a throwback to when
the back of the bus as they're getting off would be going like up a seesaw.
It's like a Southwestern Central High School, where the bus pulls up and the other team sees you get off the bus. That's the guy you want. DeJuan Jones.
I think this should be a thing. I think because this is such a cliche, I think the NFL should set this up so that every game begins with 90 minutes before the game. Both teams, instead of walking onto the field, have to walk off a bus onto the field in front of each other.
Yeah.
If you need like I know how much you love article ideas, Bo. If it's like June and you're like, I don't want to do anything, but I'm not officially on vacation. Do I need to write something?
I'm already tuning out.
The Bo Wolf All Bus team. There you go.
6'8", 374. The longest wingspan in Senior Bowl history, I believe, right? Under 22 years old. He was a starter at Ohio State. You got to run, you got to run a lap to get around him. I mean, he's big and long. He's someone you can develop behind Lane Johnson. I guess the knock is that he's not versatile. So if you think he's right tackle only, are you spending a second round pick on him? If you think that he can play left tackle in a pinch, you train him for it, then it makes a little more sense as a swing tackle possibility. The Eagles are intrigued enough that they brought him in for a visit.
I have in my mind that if they're going to use a pick on a guy, they want him to be able to play guard too. They don't want just a guard. They don't want just a tackle. They want a guy who can do both. And I generally think that a tackle can't play guard is probably silly, but he does seem a little bit too big to play guard. And so that's the only reason I don't have him, but he certainly has the uniqueness that you would think that Jeff Stoutland would cover.
Has there been a 6'8" guard?
There's been nobody his size who has been a Pro Bowl all-proer.
So I don't think they necessarily want a tackle and guard. I think that they want someone who can play more than one spot. So as long as he can play left tackle, and I don't know if he can play left tackle.
I just don't think he solves
swing tackles.
Let's say Kelsey retires after this year. All of a sudden you still need to find a starting right guard if he can't play right guard, right? Whereas a guy like Paris Johnson can do that for a year and still be the Lane Johnson replacement.
True. Good point.
Anyway, go ahead, Sheil.
Let's see. How many more picks do I have to make?
This is round 7, so you've got 4 more picks.
4 more picks. All right, let me take a shot on another first rounder here. This is actually one of the guys I was debating with as a possible pick at 10 if they have to stay there and can't find a trade partner. How about a little Broderick Jones, offensive tackle from Georgia? You guys were just talking about the need for offensive linemen. He seems like someone who has theoretical versatility, might need a little more coaching and refinement, has the physical tools, did not give up a sack last year. He has like the highlight level run blocking, plays in space. So I don't know if he could start guard. He didn't play guard. He only had 19 starts in college, so not as experienced as some of the other guys. But man, 6'5", 311, over 34-inch arms. Dane Brugler was saying he could be the best offensive tackle one for some teams. So I think he's someone who maybe a little under the radar in terms of most likely options at 10. But I will go with a Broderick Jones.
Okay. Yeah, the only reason I don't have him as likely is because he doesn't have the proven versatility, but you covered it.
Most likely, if they draft an offensive lineman, rank them. Paris Johnson, Skoronski, Broderick Jones.
I would
Unless
say
you feel like
go
you're
Paris
giving away your
Johnson, Skoronski, and then Broderick Jones, I think.
But that's even given who will be available.
Yeah,
like that they
I
end
agree.
up with. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Who'd you go? Johnson?
But I don't. Yeah, I just
won. I think Johnson won. I guess Skoronski too, for guard right tackle.
And then Jones.
Yeah.
All right. Then maybe I should have gone Skoronski. All right. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with a late round dart throw, 5th round or so. Good time to take a safety. Some correlation between Power 5 guys at safety. And this guy was a very impressive athlete testing wise. Played 2 seasons at Pitt, ran a 4.43, jumped out the gym. Brandon Hill from Queens, New York. Brandon Hill from Pittsburgh. Day 3 safety. I just won the draft.
I'm so hungry. Marissa, you too?
I'm pretty hungry too.
Yeah.
I made overnight oats. I've been doing that.
Jessica's a big fan of doing that.
Big fan. I love that your breakfast is made for you the next morning.
Yeah, that is nice. What do you throw in there? A little almond butter?
No, I do almond milk.
Okay.
A little dairy-free yogurt, oats,
Okay.
chia seeds, cacao nibs.
Oh, I love a cacao nib.
that's a lot.
Because of you, I
Shredded
started putting the
coconut.
cacao nib in the smoothie.
Yeah, delicious.
Much better than the powder.
Chia seeds and then strawberries and blueberries.
Okay.
which the
Wow,
fruit's
you
a little
really
soggy if you put
covered
it
all.
in the night before, but
Sounds so
then
good.
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But usually that's like a breakfast 1A, then I'll have like eggs later.
Oh, love a
But I did
double
not have my
breakfast.
eggs later, so I am a little hungry. But
All right. Who's up? let's let Marissa
Zach's
get her.
no, I'm enjoying this. Sheil, I want to keep you as long as we can. We miss you. So
So,
We need to
quick
get
question
like a
about the
food order.
game.
Maybe we can get like a food order in here.
yeah, let's
All right, yeah.
DoorDash.
So it's done by round, not sequence of pick, right? So the
I
second
love
first
how
round pick.
Zach's asking a rule clarification question in the 7th round in the
Well, no.
second hour.
No, because like
All right, sorry, go ahead.
if I
Yes, it's true.
take a
It's
guy,
true.
yeah. So if I take a guy who's a possibility at 30, it doesn't benefit me any more than taking
Well,
a guy
unless they
who's a
trade down
possibility.
4 picks and then take him there, all of a sudden it's an extra point.
True. But that's gonna take away one guy I was looking at. All right, I'm gonna go with a favorite of mine here, and I don't mean to be so running back heavy, but I'm gonna go with Israel.
Bo chimes in and says, "You haven't taken a running back."
He took gifts.
Israel.
He has. You have.
Israel Abikanada. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Izzy. And I've been talking about Izzy now going back to the season, man. I mean, you're talking 20 years old. Look at what the Eagles did with Abanikanda. Thank you. I know him as Izzy, a New Yorker. He is, I believe, Abraham Lincoln High School, if memory serves, which is the same school as Sebastian Telfair. He is a big
I thought he was going to go like Abraham Lincoln's great grandson.
He's an awesome player to watch. The Eagles had success with LaShawn McCoy. The Eagles had success with Deion Lewis. Well, Deion Lewis was a good player, and he didn't have much success in Philly. But
he had success.
He was fine. Yeah, he was fine. 20 years old. I can't emphasize that enough. And there are other mid-round running backs who jump out to me, but I think Israel can be I think he can be a good player in the NFL. So I'm going with Izzy.
Who's your favorite day 2 running back, assuming Gibbs, like take Gibbs out of it? From the 3rd ranked running back on, who's your favorite guy?
I would say Izzy. I think the profile of Rashawn Johnson is really intriguing. I admittedly haven't watched that much Rashawn Johnson because
I didn't love
Robinson was so good.
Me neither.
He was,
but
okay.
the profile of the that profile intrigues me. But no, I would go with Izzy. Is the guy that jumps out to me.
I liked watching Tank Bigsby the most. I really enjoyed Tajay Spears, but there's the injury concern potentially. And actually, I like Abanikanda's profile a lot.
Okay. I love his Spears, but yeah, I don't know if there are real injury concerns there or not. But he was easily my favorite guy to watch day 2. All right, am I up?
You are up.
All right, I'll just go with the Tank Bigsby. He was on my list. Now, Bo, I feel like where did you have him going in your mock? I remember thinking this is later.
I had him late. I had him round 6, and the Eagles trading a future pick to go get him. I think there are. I've heard some whispers that he might not be the best teammate, so maybe that's the reason he falls. That's why
another guy who fits my bill. Then Tank Bigsby.
Yeah. I mean, he's a running back. Just hold on to the ball. You don't need to be friends with anybody.
Teammate.
He is one of the guys. Him and Roshan Johnson are the only 2 guys with draftable grades from Dane who had worse yards per carry than their teammates over the course of their college career. So just a small thing.
Yeah, but somebody corrected you on that. Who was it? Fran? The one guy was getting all the goal line carries. That's why his yards per carry were low. Remember?
No, that was Tavion Thomas, who does not have a draftable grade. That's not the case for Bigsby.
Okay. Bigsby, Dane's got him 3rd round, number 87 overall. So Zach, Bo's trying to cheat there.
Yeah, but Jeremiah has him at like 130 on his board or something like that. So opinions are varied.
He was ready for that one, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Right.
I did my work. I take that one seriously.
All right. What one seriously?
The mock draft.
Oh, the mock. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go with another day 2 cornerback possibility. Maybe more of a 3rd round pick than a 2nd round pick. This is Cameron Mitchell from Northwestern. And the thing about those Northwestern guys is they know what they're doing. You can count on them. They're not going to be a distraction. and he tested well. There's your scouting report on Cameron Mitchell.
Do you apply to a Northwestern, Zach? It's always like Northwestern and Syracuse, right? Those are the two.
Yeah, I did not. I wanted to be within driving distance of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So.
You could drive to.
You could, but I wanted to be able to get home pretty quickly. So this is a guy who I'm leaning toward personal favorites here later in the draft. And I wrote about him yesterday. We had round 30. I'm sorry, the pick 30 and second round options. And this guy's being viewed as like a late second round pick. I don't see why. I think he should be higher, and that's Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame.
Foskey.
He checks so many boxes. I like the size, the speed profile. So you're talking 6'5", nearly 260, I believe. Ran, in the 4.5s. College production, awesome. I mean, the only player with more sacks during the past 2 years is Anderson. Cooper? You watch. No, Will Henderson. You watch him play, and he plays so hard, right? Like
big time motor.
Yeah, I mean, but it translates, and he led college football in sacks 2 years ago, and it was one of these things where I'm like, I'm not a scout, right? I acknowledge that, but I'm like, what am I missing? Like, what's? And so then I read the scouting report say, well, he doesn't have natural bend. Okay. I mean, he's had 22 sacks during the past 2 years, right? I mean, he's getting to the quarterback. And I mean, he was a team captain at Notre Dame. I like this guy, and I don't know if the Eagles do or not, but if they're looking for an edge rusher in round 2, I can get behind that pick.
All right.
Okay. You're up, Sheil. This is your second to last pick.
Second to last pick. Should I go for the late hitters? Should I go for another first rounder? And I guess I should the most boring guy they could probably take, I guess, in the first round. I'll just go with little Peter Skoronski. You talked about Northwestern. Now, you guys don't like a Skoronski, right? You think that would be a bad pick?
I just think this is guard at number 10. Yeah.
I think it's a guard at number 10. I also think, and maybe this is too reductive.
Well, a guard who had 33 starts at left tackle and played well.
Right, and has the same arm length as you.
Well, Rashawn Slater, also similar profile. Now one of the best left tackles in the NFL.
Yeah,
by like Slater's 3/4 of an inch. He was like a short arm guy.
Yeah, that's a long.
3/4 of an inch arm length is going to determine whether he's going to be a good player or not.
I do. I think my other concern here, and maybe this
Marissa,
is
how long are Michael's arms?
This is also highly controversial thing. Not controversial. He doesn't like his arm length. They're shorter.
He doesn't like his arm length.
Do you have a number? Do you remember the number? No.
No, okay. I could ask him to measure, but I'm sure he knows.
Overrated. I think it's overrated.
Sure he knows, but he that was a knock on him. I mean, he was obviously hurt during the draft process, so that was obviously a big knock on him. He had shoulder surgery, but his arms were not long, and that is the teams love arm length. Love arm length.
Doesn't matter if you can block. If your arms are long when the guy's running past you, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's same school as Rashawn Slater, very similar measurables, a little bit heavier, 3/4 of an inch shorter arms, and it's like he can't play left tackle in the NFL. I don't understand.
And shout out to Dan Pompei, had a really good piece on him. So make sure you check that out. And if the Vernons are still listening here, big Skoronski guys.
My Skoronski concern otherwise, it's not a concern, and this is probably silly, but like if the book on him is that he is the most pro ready guy, like he's more sure to hit his ceiling, it's like a waste of the superpower that you have with Jeff Stoutland to like get guys to their ceiling. And I could see them sort of thinking he doesn't like, Stoutland likes those traits. What more is he going to get out of him? I don't know.
Why are we saying he's a low ceiling player? I don't understand that. He's a very good athlete, elite broad jump, elite vertical jump.
Because he literally can't reach the ceiling.
He's not old. I don't know. Like, is he different than the ceilings of Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson? Is his ceiling different than those guys? I know those were second round picks. I'm not even saying they should take him at 10. I just don't understand I don't understand why I'm not supposed to think he's going to be a very good player.
You bring up very good points.
Gave up 1 sack and 474 pass block snaps last year. 3-year starter, 33 college starts. Again, played left tackle, similar measurables to Rashawn Slater. And by the way, he's not going to have to come in and play left tackle right away, but it's a great option to have. If you think he can play left tackle, then all of a sudden he becomes a very intriguing prospect. If he can play guard and then can also play left tackle for you, I don't understand. And he's a clean prospect compared to some of these other guys on the board. I don't understand why that would be a bad pick.
I also think if teams think he plays left tackle, he's a top 5 pick. Or, I mean, he's not getting past Vegas if he can play left tackle because he's that good of a player. So,
yeah, I mean, I think he probably would be I'm expecting he could be a top 10 pick at least. I mean, he'd go to the Bears at 9 is a popular mock that makes sense to me, but we'll see. Skoronski is my pick.
Is this the last round?
This is the last
I didn't
round.
think I was going to come on here in 2 hours and 9 minutes in. And now I'm going to be labeled the Skoronski guy. That was not my intention when we started this podcast. But
it's not my intention to be 2 hours and 19 minutes in. So
did you get a sucralose answer for me?
Oh, no, I didn't.
You didn't ask.
I didn't ask. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Who's up?
I'm up. This is my.
What are you doing? Huh?
I'm trying to figure out who my last pick is going to be.
What do you mean trying to figure out who your last pick is going to be? Just
you had the
pick
whole
somebody.
Skoronski answer. Yeah.
You literally did a mock draft.
Yeah. I know. Well, I know, but I want to find. I need one little guy to add to my stable of people to brag about.
Take the 5'5" guy you were talking
Deuce
about.
Vaughn. Yes.
There you go.
We
Deuce
have
Vaughn.
names, Bo. I'm sorry, Sheil. Short guys have names. It's not just a little guy. Okay. Yes.
Tell him, Zach.
You have 10 seconds. And
Right,
then
I'm
Deuce
gonna
Vaughn.
I'm going to go with a guy who the profile is not great because of the age. He's going to turn 24 before his rookie season.
City Sal.
But no, he's like 28. But I really do like watching him. We've already talked about the Iowa State connection. There are reasons that
obsessed with that.
He is older.
Connection.
He was very productive. I think the Eagles could use a guy on the edge. I'm going to go with Will McDonald IV as my closeout guy.
He's a good player, and I don't know if I would ask it in this way, but I would say, why'd your buddy at Iowa State play him the way they did? Because if you just put this guy on the edge every down, he's like a surefire first-round pick. He's awesome to watch.
Is that like a number 30 type pick, or where are you expecting him to go?
Yeah, I think I think it's at 30 or 30. A few picks after. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Bruce Feldman. Well, so Bo's piece, I said that was as good draft content other than the Beast. Bruce's pieces are up there.
Now.
Put Bruce over it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Bruce is up there too. And
Bruce was saying Bo's piece was the best piece. A nice little Bruce Feldman pop.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that. I saw coaches in the coaches in Bruce's piece compared Will McDonald to Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick.
Oh.
So
yeah, well, Brian Burns was 21 years old. I mean, that was a great profile.
Bo
famously loved Brian Burns.
Yeah,
among members of this podcast.
I did. That's right. I was the highest on him.
Yeah. If you can't win the game, at least win the crowd, right?
Wow.
That's the rationale I'm doing.
All right.
Is that a saying? What the hell is that?
That's a good one. I like that. If he made
it is it? Because you're not going to win the crowd if you don't win the game.
No, I'm saying
Josh Harris.
He wants the pop. He wants the, He's going for the big man.
And I gotta say this, man.
Bijan.
I look at my metrics, and I look at my April metrics. I'm a little disappointed by my. April
I thought
metrics.
you meant like your personal arm length, bro.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry, my writing metrics.
Okay.
And I'm like, how didn't I just write a Bijan Robinson? Like ESP cracked the code, right? This is what fans want to read about. Why didn't I write about it? What was I thinking? Okay. I mean, Bo did a good running back piece.
Marvin Mims.
Yeah. This is I can't get in the car without Bijan Robinson's name being on one of the radio stations here. I can't. I was at a coffee shop this morning
Here's to you, Bijan
someone
Robinson.
says to me, someone
Headline,
says to me,
shut up, nerds,
ESP
period. Here's why the Eagles should
loved you
take Bijan
long
Robinson.
ago.
I'm
someone
clicking on
said
that
to me,
every
someone
day.
said, yes, someone said, what's Howie going to do? And I was like, what do you think they're going to do? They're like, I would love if he took the running back. And he's just the running back now. Okay. It is my
Wait, where was this?
At a coffee shop this morning.
Coffee shop stretching? This guy can't go anywhere.
My father-in-law has asked me 5 different times about Bijan Robinson. Okay. I missed the boat. I don't know if my editors are listening 2.5 hours in here. Why didn't I
hope not. I hope they're
yeah. Why didn't I write this Bijan Robinson story every week? The answer is Bo wrote the running back piece, and I
was very impressed by father-in-law can go suited and booted with the bow tie, but he can also now go a little casual, untuck. I mean, if I dress, like 50% as well as him, the rest of my life, I'll be a happy man.
I hope
very well dressed.
He's probably listening. I also
thought he looked, by the way, sorry, okay, I interrupted again. I also thought he looks a little bit. Now, does he ever get this comp? The guy from
I would stop you right now.
Okay.
Because you haven't read the news recently.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
I want to get him on the pod.
What are we talking? I don't know where this is going. You're gonna say he looks like Tucker
Anytime
Carlson?
Zach's giving me a hard don't say it, I'm listening.
Yeah.
So,
the guy he was about to say, okay, Sheil texted us about it. The guy has been in the news for the wrong reasons recently. So I don't want that comparison.
Okay, all right, I don't want that either.
Yeah, right. Google the name. You'll see.
Don Lemon. He doesn't look anything like him.
Tucker Carlson.
So I am going with Bijan Robinson here. Okay. And how easy is this to say, man? Like explosive offense, you get a transformational player, you get a generational player. I can pull out. I wrote back in 2017. Okay, the Eagles are so interested in Christian McCaffrey. I had someone high up tell me I've told this story. You just put a WR next to his name, and he's going in the first round. And I don't know if that's the case with Bijan Robinson or not, but man, this city, our numbers would be through the roof if they took Bijan Robinson. So, Bijan Robinson.
I mean, you told the whole McCaffrey story, and then you're like, I don't know if this applies at all.
Well, no, because Peter King said, all right, I'll take that back. They were prepared that they were interested in taking Christian McCaffrey number 14 overall. Christian McCaffrey didn't drop to them, but they were going to take McCaffrey, who is a running back, but because of how much of an offensive weapon he is in the passing game. So they're not categorically against it if he has that type of versatility. I don't think they would do it at number 10. I do think they would consider it in a trade back situation, probably a big trade back situation rather than a few picks. They did bring him in. I agree with what Bo said the other day. I think Howie likes to mess with people sometimes. Right. And it was the lead of the Howie Grossman story, but why not? It's my 10th pick in this game. Why not?
Yeah, I think it would be the most fun pick for talking and writing about the team next year. I mean, that would be a lot of fun to have Bijan Robinson but yeah, that whole wide receiver, who was it? Who was telling him about? Who was telling Peter King about Bijan Robinson as a receiver?
Steve Sarkisian. Yeah, that's what we asked Coach Flynn. Yeah,
I mean, he had 19 catches in 12 games last year, so I thought that was a little. Oh,
yeah. And Xavier Worthy, you'll see this next year. Xavier Worthy's awesome to watch.
Okay.
We joked about butting up against Marissa's 2:30 record time, but we are almost there.
No, I actually don't have it anymore because I should pretend.
Oh, let's go 20 rounds.
No,
because the Rodgers stuff happened yesterday.
Oh.
So we did the Jets pod last night.
Yes, but we both need to eat.
All right.
Pregnant
Sheil,
woman,
you give Mr. Relevant.
Man who gets upset when he hasn't eaten. All right. Mr. Irrelevant. Who do I want here?
Zach, you never took your boy Darnell Washington, huh?
Yeah, I did not. But
all right, chat. I'm gonna let the chat decide it. I'm gonna read off some names. You tell me who I should pick here. I'm debating Deontay Banks, cornerback, Maryland.
Marissa wants Deontay.
Steve Avila.
Philadelphia Eagles.
lineman.
I almost went Raheem
TCU.
Jarrett for you, Marissa.
We know Sheil loves those TCU guys. So
BJ
That's
Ujulari, Edge LSU.
His parents met in Philadelphia.
Okay. Jay Ward. Now this is what I'm really. Now this is like a nice upside because he'd be a late round pick, a Fran Duffy favorite. Jay Ward, defensive back at LSU, has played nickel, has played safety, has played corner. When Fran was talking about day 3 guys he picked him. No one took an A.T. Perry, huh? Wide receiver, Wake Forest.
He's in the mock draft today.
Yeah. So you don't take him. All right.
Yeah, if we're gonna play this game, I'll just read you my whole list of big boards here.
Dorian Thompson Robinson,
John
quarterback
Gaines,
UCLA.
Andrew Voorhees.
I am going to
Mike
go
Morris,
as I think Marissa gets the pick since
Carrington
Marissa has been on
Valentine,
here. Hungry,
Damari
having to
Connor,
go to the bathroom for 2 hours and
Trey
19
Dean
minutes.
III,
Deontay
Eli
Banks,
Ricks.
cornerback, Maryland, who I do like quite a bit. Deontay Banks. I thought he was very good. I think he could be a nice pick if they maybe trade back a little bit, take a little Deontay Banks there in the middle of the first round. So there you go.
I like Deontay Banks.
Love it.
Okay.
All right.
Good one.
All right.
Wow, what a ride it's been.
Are you guys doing another podcast between now and the draft?
No.
All right. Smart.
No. This is it.
All right.
So
This is the Eggstravaganza.
this is the extravaganza. So we will have reaction Thursday night after the Eagles make at least one pick, presumably. Late night. We'll have.
Are you
late
in the
night
building?
stuff.
Are you in the cafeteria open? What's the detail?
No word
not
on the
anymore.
cafeteria.
Or I don't think any. Last year was not.
Last year was not, but last year was still COVID.
I don't.
What
think
a
that's
festive! I mean, that
I think it's
one of
possible. I think
one
it's
of the
possible.
great nights as a beat writer. I thought you go in there, everyone's pumped. You've been waiting. You go eat. You talk shop with your friends in the cafeteria. You go watch the draft in the big auditorium. People cracking jokes. This is as good as it gets.
They miss you in there. That's why.
I don't know about that. They did always have a nice vegetarian option for me. I'll give them that.
Sheil, got any? Do you have any draft night things to plug?
A couple podcasts, Ringer NFL show and Ringer's Philly special on draft night. That's it.
Never heard that other one, but okay. So we'll have Birds with Friends on late Thursday night, late Friday night. We've been tossing around the idea of maybe a Saturday show in the middle of the rounds if the Eagles don't have any picks. We're just biding time, potentially. Just something to keep in mind. But, lots of stuff between now and then. Check out the draft name guide tomorrow. Check out the story that's dropping with Zach and I.
Yeah, I got to see this.
It's exclusive Riley Cooper retrospective that Zach did.
No, it's not a Riley Cooper retrospective. I will establish that from the start. That is not the case. Do not expect that.
It's an Emmanuel Acho feature.
I would like that. That'd be a good piece, Emmanuel Acho feature.
Okay, I'll let you have that one. You can keep that byline to yourself on that one.
Jeez.
So
Emmanuel catching a stray.
For Zach, Sheil, Marissa, Zach's father-in-law, who, despite what Sheil thinks, looks nothing like Donald Trump.
That wasn't the
we
reference.
Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.